So point number one is about lifestyle. Now, we're going to discuss one of the most important and prevalent topics in today's society as it relates to dating. What we're really discussing, I wrote down housewife and I wrote down work mommy, but what we're really going to be discussing is the idea of severe differences in the lifestyle you might want to live with someone in a relationship with them. So, i.e., what are we discussing here? The idea of something like 50-50, I should put 50-50 down here, and being a housewife, okay? So this is a perfect example of how irreconcilable differences can help you easily spot whether or not you're even going to work out in a relationship with a guy from the very beginning. Let's break down this concept and so we can understand each other and what I mean here. Let's say you meet a guy, and in the process of you having conversation with him, one of the main questions that I want you answering and getting from him is his idea of what he thinks a successful marriage and relationship looks like. Because that answer is going to tell you a lot about your level of compatibility with a guy. If you know you're someone who you enjoy being a housewife, let's say, right, you enjoy taking care of kids, right? You enjoy cooking, let's just say, for example, right? You enjoy cleaning, and you enjoy the soft life. Nothing wrong with that, okay? This is essentially your ideal lifestyle, meaning when you envision your life as a woman, right? And when you envision your life as a wife, this is what you think of yourself doing on a day-to-day basis. This is what you think your responsibilities will be. This is what you think your role in the relationship will be. All of these things are in your mind as towards the lifestyle that you want to live. Now, let's say for the sake of example, you're not like that. And you're like hearing this and you're like taking care of kids, cooking and cleaning. Tomisin, that's so 1990s. We don't do that anymore. We're independent women. And you're like, hey, I want to be a corporate girly and I want to be going to work. Right? I want to, accomplish my goals in terms of my career, right? I have lots and lots of goals, we'll just say goals at work that I want to accomplish, right? I want to see growth in other areas. I want to make money, right? Specifically, I should even put in here my own. Okay? All of those things are good, perfectly fine if that's the lifestyle you want to live. But what we want to understand when you're meeting a man is, do you guys have the same understanding of what life married is supposed to look like? Because sometimes you might make the mistake of meeting a guy, you might really like him, you might really like his vibe, you might really like your chat, you might really like his schlong, but you're not thinking about how compatible are you guys in a lifestyle sense. If the guy that you're dating has an idea that his perfect relationship and his marriage is going to look like this, where you're a housewife, you're cooking and cleaning, and you're doing a bunch of this traditional stuff, and he's the one going to work and taking care of the bills, and you're thinking to yourself, no, I want to be working as well, and I want my own money, and I want to be able to do my own thing, well, then we've just reached an impasse of incompatibility, meaning the two of you don't have the same idea of what you want for your lifestyle. And if that's the case, then you want to avoid even dating those people in the first place, because what you're not going to do is you're not going to meet someone who has an alternative lifestyle or a lifestyle that's different from yours and try to convince them that your lifestyle is the best way to live. Meaning, if you, for the opposite example, if you're someone that wants to be a housewife and you can't fathom the idea of going 50-50 and being a work mommy going into your corporate 9 to 5 every single day, and that makes you literally want to throw up, and the guy that you're talking to is talking about, hey, I just envision my life in a place where both of us are chipping in on bills, where we're splitting it down the middle. When that bill comes back and it's $200, we're splitting it exactly 100. In fact, if there's any cents left over, we're splitting the cents too, okay? If that doesn't work out for you, or that makes you nauseous or disgusted, well, then you have to be honest with yourself from the very beginning and say, the lifestyle that you envision yourself living is not the same lifestyle that I envision myself living. I cannot argue you and convince you that my lifestyle is the way that you should see things. And vice versa, you're not going to argue with me or convince me that your lifestyle is the way that I should view things or what I should want for myself, okay? Part of maturing is realizing that your own preferences are your own preferences. And then when you meet people, you want to figure out the people that are aligned with you in the most important parts of your life, these pillars, because these pillars are not something where you say, hey, we're going to compromise on this thing. Right? Especially when we're talking about something so pivotal as your lifestyle. If he sees you as a housewife and you want to be a work mommy, you're going to find it very difficult to even exist in a relationship at all. And vice versa the other way. So you want to be thinking and asking these questions when you meet guys and getting an understanding of what is your desired lifestyle, not just in terms of what you want to be doing in 5 years, but what do you actually see in terms of your relationship lifestyle? What is that supposed to look like and how do you want that to be? Okay, let's hop into our next point here. You like that power ponytail I gave you? If I was a good drawer, I would have drawn you with the whole suit and tie and a briefcase, okay? Maybe that's your vibe. Some people, that's their vibe, you know what I mean? It's 2025, everyone's a little bit different. Okay, tell me in the chat, do you envision your lifestyle as a work mommy or do you envision your lifestyle as a housewife? Which one are you? I'm sure everyone's a little bit different, but I'm curious what percentage is housewife and what percentage is work mommy in our chat, okay? Let's hop into point number 2, okay? We're gonna get real deep here. Okay. This one, we're gonna draw a little bit of a chart. Okay. We have to get graphic here in order to explain this well. I see some people saying work mommy, some people saying housewife. Okay, it's pretty split down the middle. Okay, someone said a naughty housewife. Okay, all right, so point number 2, we have sex desires. Now, I have to be honest with you. You know, we don't talk about giving yourself freely to men when you first meet them on the Players Club. That's not what we do here. That's not the MO. However, we cannot ever ignore sex is such an important part of relationships and having a successful relationship that before you actually sleep with him, we do want to be sure that you guys have sexual compatibility. One of the easiest mistakes to make and one of the easiest things to overlook is your level of sexual compatibility with the guy that you're meeting. The same way in our chat here, everyone was a little bit different, right? Everyone has a little bit different way of going about things. Some of you want to be a work mommy and some of you want to be a housewife. Nobody is wrong in the way that they prefer things to be for themselves. It's the same thing with your sexual desires. Everyone is into something a little bit different. But what you want to understand when you're going into dating someone, right? Even in the very early stages of dating, you want to kind of have discussions about things to get an understanding of how that other person's mind works. Because that will tell you a lot about how things will transpire in the future and whether they'll work properly or whether you'll be very discouraged with how they're working. Let me explain this to you, okay? So let's say for the sake of example, the guy that you're dating, he's pretty vanilla, okay? Right? His idea of, let's say, good sex, we won't say pineapples this time, we'll just say sex for this point, right? His idea of good sex is I love you, right? And missionary, and cuddles. Woo! So much fun, okay? So this is his idea of good sex, right? He's just someone, he just likes to do the basics, and he thinks that that's perfectly fine, okay? Nothing wrong with that, even if that's you. But let's say, for the sake of example, you're a little bit on the naughty side, like someone said in the chat here. You're on the naughty side of things. So your idea of good sex, right, is getting tied up, right? Getting, let's just say, choked. We're getting deep into it here, chat. We can also say, let's say you're, I don't want to get too graphic. What can we say here? Slapped. And we could also say some dirty talk, right? Whatever it is you're into, okay? Now, let's be honest with ourselves, okay? Because I know this is a little bit uncomfortable for us. Someone said spanked. Okay, we'll change slapped with spanked. Because I think for some of you, when you hear slapped, you're like, what? What is that? I don't know what that, I don't want to scare any of you, okay? So we'll put spanked here instead, the tamed version, okay? Now, the reason that I'm pointing this out, because even though it feels a little bit uncomfortable for us to all sit here and talk about, we have to be honest with ourselves about the level of compatibility we have with the person that we're across from at this dinner date. Because the reality of it is, at some point in your relationship, as things are progressing, you're going to get to a point where this is something that becomes a point of contention, meaning just a point where you have to like actually feel out what is working for both of you and what is not working. What you don't want though is you don't want to spend so much time in your relationship focused on everything else, never discussing this because you're just like, hey, I'm not ready for this, so I'm not even going to talk about it. Then you never get an understanding of your compatibility level or your incompatibility level. Then by the time you finally get down to doing it, only then do you realize that the guy you want to be tied up, choked, spanked, and dirty talked by is actually very vanilla and only into missionary and very, very boring and unstimulating to you. Now you have a very deep conundrum on your hands because you've just spent a lot of months, if not many months to a year, building a relationship with a man that you now are realizing is going to leave you very sexually frustrated because your desires are very different from his. So what I want for you in the beginning of your relationship is I want you to be sniffing out through conversation. I didn't say you have to be doing it. Through conversation to try and get an understanding of what this guy's desires are, what is he into, and what is he like, right? Because you'll find yourself very quickly in an incompatible relationship if you don't have these conversations. Now, what do these conversations usually look like? It can be as simple as asking him, what are some of the things you've experienced sexually with your previous partners? Tell me, what's the best sex you've ever had in your life? Describe to me why it's the best sex you've ever had in your life. I know some of you are thinking, Tomisin, I don't like ever hearing about a guy telling me that he's been with other women. I want to imagine in my mind that literally he poof started existing when I met him and he's never had any experience since before me. That's not smart, okay? You're gonna find yourself in a very precarious situation doing that. You have to ask these questions so that he can start to describe to you his experiences, and then you can get a better idea of what he likes and what he doesn't like, okay? That way you guys can both be on the same page that by the time you finally do it, you're like, okay, this is my vibe. You're my same vibe. I'm your same vibe. Everyone's actually enjoying this. One of the worst things to happen as well for you is that you get into a position where you realize what he might be into is so different from what you're into. You're spending the entire time sleeping with him, pretending to enjoy this. Okay, we cannot have you faking orgasms or pretending to. We're not doing that anymore. Any of you that have been doing that, let me know in the chat if you've done that ever before. If you've ever done that before in your life, those days are gone. Those days are gone. We're not doing that anymore. We're not faking no orgasms. We're not pretending to come for nobody. You're going to actually enjoy this, okay? But in order for you to actually enjoy this, we have to make sure you and the guy that you're talking to are actually compatible in that sense, excuse me, right? Very, very important. Ask questions, get an understanding of his desire, because you also might be this person and he might be you. This might be flip-flop depending on who you are. You might be the one that likes things more vanilla and more tamed. He might be the one that is into a whole bunch of stuff that you're not into. He might like feet and you might be disgusted by feet. He might like your toes and you're disgusted at the fact that he wants to suck your toes. Everyone's a little bit different, but you have to get that understanding, okay? Let's hop into our third point. Okay. You nasty, nasty people. Okay. Someone said no. Some of y'all like never done that. I've seen some people say oopsie. Y'all funny. Y'all funny. Please, no faking orgasms. Doesn't help anyone, okay? When we have our sex ed class, I'm going to discuss with you guys about that. No faking orgasms. Doesn't do anyone a service. All right, point number 3. Okay. Now, this concept is going to sound kind of weird, but I want you to stay with me, okay? So let's imagine this. I can't really draw well, but whatever. All right. So this is going to sound weird, but I want to explain it to you like this. One of the main places you can become incompatible with a guy is the way that you both desire to raise your children. I'm going to explain it to you in a visual sense so we can be on the same page. See, children are a lot like sponges, meaning whatever you throw into them, right? Whatever liquid you throw into them, that's exactly what they absorb, okay? So, for example, if you instill discipline in your children, that is what they will soak up, right? If you instill toxic behavior in your children, that is what they'll absorb, right? If you instill, oops, let me write this properly. If you instill selfishness in your children, that is what they'll absorb, and so on and so forth, right? All of these different things that you can instill in your children, that is what they'll absorb. So why am I saying that? And why am I referring to children as sponges? Because when it comes to the way that you're going to parent your children, both you and the guy that you're dating, who is hopefully eventually going to be your husband and then the father of your children, should be on the same page about how you're going to do that. Because what can't happen is from one direction, one parent is giving them discipline, and then the other parent is giving them, right, laziness, right? It's going to be very confusing for a child because they're not going to know what direction to go in. And they might not end up going in either direction, right? Or you might end up doing the wrong thing or having the opposite effect, because there needs to be alignment between how you choose to parent your children and how your man chooses to parent your children, so that the both of you can seem like a union whenever you present things to your children, or whenever you're trying to instill ideologies in your children. I know for some of you on the younger side, you might be like, what? Is that really that big of a deal? It is. And it's very important to understand when even though you're young and you might be dating, if you're so young you can't even imagine yourself having children, maybe you need to take a break. But even when you're young and you're dating, you need to be thinking about the future, because eventually that man's not always going to be your boyfriend forever. And you can find yourself in a very incompatible relationship when you realize that the way your guy, your man, wants to parent his children is very different from the way that you want to parent your children. This could be something as simple as, and I know it's going to sound weird, this could be something as simple as you say, I don't want to spank my children, and your man says, no, if our children are bad, I want to spank them. Now you need to start thinking to yourself, whoa, 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 whoa. Because there is no compromise there of, hey, it's either going to be we spank them or we don't. And you guys have to be aligned in that thought process, because you can't have a situation where you're raising children and then they do something bad, and then one of you is like, all right, let's spank him. And then you're like holding him back and you're like, no, don't spank him. Don't spank him. You're not going to do the right thing when it comes to raising your children. Your children will be very confused. They'll be like, am I in trouble? Or are they fighting? Why are they fighting? I'm supposed to be the one that's in trouble, right? So you need to be able to present a union, which means the both of you need to have an understanding of what is discipline for our children, how are we going to raise them, what are the most important things that we want to instill in them, and what are the most important things of what we want to give them or not give them in order to raise them properly, right? You might have someone that says, oh, I want to spoil my children, I want to do everything I can for them all the time and give them everything I never had. And then you might have another parent that says, no, I want my children to work for everything. I'm not going to give them anything, I'm not going to hand them anything. I want them to experience what working hard is like to be able to get to their goals so they're more prepared for the future, right? These are the things you guys have to have a conversation on, because you can easily find yourself in an incompatible relationship if you don't have these conversations early. Okay? Does that make sense? All right, let's hop into our fourth point. Them kids be soaking up everything, I promise you. Okay? You'd be surprised. Okay. In our next point here, what is our next point? Yeah. Okay. Great next point we're going to discuss. Great next point. Some of you will be triggered, but it's great. It's great. Okay. All right. So we'll do another his and hers chart. Love that. Okay. I didn't even be introducing these points, okay? So number 4 is about cheating. Now, what am I referring to about cheating? Obviously, we know cheating is morally wrong in a relationship, but what am I really talking about? The cheating I'm referring to is you need to understand from the very early on when you're talking to a guy, what is his definition of cheating? Because this is something that can easily slip through your fingers if you don't address it. You might think to yourself, well, clearly everyone considers cheating bad, but you don't ask yourself a very important question. Well, what is that person's definition of cheating? We all kind of know sleeping with someone who's not your romantic partner is cheating. But what if you're not actually sleeping with the person? What if your definition of cheating is anything sexual, but his definition of cheating is only penetration? Now we have a problem because you guys are seeing it 2 different ways. Now, what do you think is going to happen down the line in your relationship where things become rocky? And your definition of cheating is doing anything sexual with anyone else, and his definition of cheating is actual penetration with someone else. That means there's kind of a window of opportunity where he can do something that's not considered cheating to him, but considered cheating to you. And you want to know who suffers? It's the person who has to have the conversation or hear about it afterwards and say, wait a second, that definition of what you just said, that's cheating to me. And then they say, oh, my bad, that was never my definition of cheating, but it's already done now, right? The other thing that can happen, and you might think, well, that's very unlikely to happen. You can even have situations like this, right? Where your definition, oops, let me spell this properly, right? You might have emotional cheating here, and he might say, right? He can talk to anyone. Okay. Now, this can even be something that's the other way around, right? He might say any sort of flirting is emotional cheating, and you might be the one that says, hey, if I talk to someone and I flirt with them, that's not necessarily cheating, right? I'm not saying that either one of these is attached to just men or just women. But what I want you to be thinking about is, hey, what are these definitions of cheating? What do you consider cheating? What have you ever experienced before in your life, right? You might be someone that says, hey, a DM is cheating, right? If you DM a girl and you're messaging her some flirty stuff or you're talking sexual to her, that's cheating if you're with me and we're in a romantic relationship. He might say, hey, it's just a DM, okay? And the reason I'm saying this is because it sounds silly, but in reality, you're making an assumption going into a relationship thinking that that person's definition of cheating is going to be the exact same as yours. And similar to the other points that I gave, we're all a little bit different. So what you want to do is you want to go on your dates and you want to get an idea, what is that person's definition of cheating? What do they actually think is too far? And what do they think is in that gray area where it's not the worst thing in the world, but it's okay? Okay? Once again, it's not your job to change someone's definition of cheating, but it is your job to understand what their definition is and decide to yourself, does it even make sense for me to be investing myself in a relationship with you? Because sometimes you might meet a guy, you might come across a guy, you might have a conversation with him and start dating him, and only then do you realize that you and him are on 2 totally different pages about something that is so important. And you might only end up realizing that after it's already been done. And now you're kind of between a rock and a hard place, okay? Does that make sense to all of you, right? You don't want to get into this space here. Let's hop into point number 5. We're going quick today. Alrighty. What is your definition of cheating? Point number 5. Ooh, I love this one. This can be such an easy compatibility issue. Love this one. All right, you're not going to talk about my drawing skills because it's not relevant to our conversation. So you're just going to accept what I drew, okay? So this is obviously, it should be obvious. This is the USA, okay? Because everyone's watching from different parts of the world. Now, let's have a conversation about this because this is something very important, right? Let's say for the sake of example, you guys live in, we'll put down here. I know a lot of people don't know this area. Iowa, okay? You guys are in a small town, I should capitalize it, but you guys are in a small town in Iowa. Let's just say for the sake of example. And let's imagine that you and a guy meet in a small bar, a country club in Iowa. And as you guys are meeting and having conversation, you're asking him, okay, yeah, so me and you, yeah, I think that we'd be a good match. And, you guys are, wanting to date each other and all this good stuff. And as you guys are having conversation, he tells you, yeah, so, I'm just tired of living in this small town in Iowa. And it's just, it's depressing to wake up every day. There's barely anyone around. It's all nothing but farmland. I've always had a dream of living in, guess what? Miami. I want to move to Miami so bad, where every day it's sunshines and rainbows and the nightlife and the city life and everyone looks amazing and everyone's beautiful and I can just soak it in and I can be on a boat or a jet ski every day of my life. And you're thinking to yourself, I actually really enjoy Iowa and my family is here and this is where I want to be for the rest of my life. We have a major problem on our hands because this is a grave sign you and a guy are going to be very incompatible. If you guys do not have the same idea of what location you want to be living in the near future, you will find yourself struggling to even continue a relationship after a while. Because what's going to happen is when this guy says, I want to move to Miami, it's not just I want to move to Miami and be there. It's also I want to align myself with that place. I want to look for jobs in that area. I want to align my lifestyle to be able to live in that area. I want to make money to live in this area, right? So someone's life is being aligned in a particular place. If that place is so gravely far from you and the lifestyle that you live, you have to understand that that person is actually in the process of you growing and in the process of them growing, you guys are going to be growing apart from each other. Because this person isn't organizing their life to be able to stay in Iowa. So all the decisions they make, all the choices they make, all the choices they make about your relationship and themselves will be focused on putting themselves here. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm not just talking about physically, I'm also talking about mentally. And the same thing for you. All the decisions you make, all the choices you make, how you speak, and all the things you do in the relationship will be focused on bringing yourself closer to alignment with your own goal for your own life, which is to stay in Iowa for the sake of this example. And the reason I say this is because as you guys are growing in those two different directions, your relationship will become more and more distant. And you're not going to realize where it really stemmed from. But the reality of it is it stemmed from your difference in ideas of where you want to be. Because the location is not just about where you want to be physically. It's also about where you feel your spirit is aligned. I want to move to Italy. I need to see something new. I need to be in a place that's super romantic. I need to go to Paris. I need to, wherever it is that you want to be, right? And it's part of aligning your spirit in a particular place that you want to grow into, that you want to become, that you want to organize and shift your energy towards that place, that destination, right? Think of it also as a destination spiritually. So the reason I say that is because you want to get an idea, do you and this man have the same destination spiritually? It's not just, obviously it doesn't have to be, hey, we want to live in exactly the same city. But if you find yourself culturally, right, and even in a terms of a physical location sense, wanting to live places that are very different and very far apart, then you guys have a difference in places where you want to grow towards. Do you understand what I'm saying? Right? Don't make that mistake of trying to make a relationship work with someone that's trying to grow towards a totally different place than you in life. It's just going to be frustrating, more and more frustrating as time goes on. Okay, let's hop into our next point. Okay, number 6. Okay, let's draw this big head, man. He's a big monster, man, with a small body and long legs. You also have a large head. And there you go. There you go. Okay. So let's draw this like this. This is the thing. Point number 6 is about attention. This is the thing about attention that I want you to understand. See, as someone is giving you attention, okay, you're also decoding this attention at all points in time, right? So with all forms of attention, there is a decode process that is going on. Meaning, when someone is giving you this attention, okay, you are in turn decoding that attention and understanding it in the way that you receive the attention, and then deciding to yourself if that attention is worth it to you, if it makes sense to you, if you enjoy it or not. Let me explain to you in a deeper example of what I mean. So, for example, your man might say, hey, the way that I give you attention is when we're on dates. We're on dates, but I got a lot of business to take care of, honey. So while we're on dates, I gotta message this person, I gotta text this, I gotta take a phone call, I gotta talk to people. Hey, I might have to step out, but I'm still present. Yeah, what were you saying? Yeah, we'll go. Yeah, we'll go to the place, the Italian place. Yeah, I know you love that place, right? And this is the thing, right, that I want you to understand about compatibility, and I want you to pay very close attention to. If you get to a point where, because we all need attention, both men and women, you have to realize very early on in your relationship or situationship, is this man capable of giving me attention in the way that I like to receive attention? It kind of sounds like I'm talking about love languages, but I want to stay focused on attention right now. Because something that will happen down the line in your relationship is you might get to a point where you realize the way that this man wants to give me attention and how I decode it and receive it is not in a way that is enjoyable for me. In fact, it's very frustrating to me. And you might also find that vice versa, the way that I give attention to him or show him attention and how he decodes it is not in a way that's even working for him. He seems to be very dissatisfied with how I show him attention or the feeling of the lack of attention that I give him, even though I feel like I'm doing a lot for him or showing him a lot of care and attention, right? This can happen on both ends of the spectrum. So something that you need to be paying attention to is, do we like the way that we show each other attention? Or is there a little bit of a misunderstanding here that we're constantly having because the way we're receiving that attention is not in line with the way that we would desire to receive attention? So be paying attention to how you feel in terms of the focus and the energy from that man. If you constantly feel deprived of his attention, if you constantly feel neglected in the relationship, because attention is important for everyone, if you feel that emotional neglect from the very beginning of your relationship, that process and that cycle will continue. Because every time he's giving you what he considers to be attention, you're receiving that as neglect. And he continues to believe that it's working for you or it should work for you, and you're continuing to be more and more frustrated with the situation. And unfortunately, for the most part, even when you try to explain to someone, hey, I feel neglected now, if it's not computing in their mind, if they can't get on the same page with you, you're just going to continue feeling neglected. And that process is just going to spiral out of control and become more and more intense. So pay attention to how you feel very early on about his attention. If you feel very neglected from the very beginning, you will continue to feel neglected. Vice versa, if you feel his focus and you feel his care and you feel his attention and it works for you, that is most likely what will continue to happen, because clearly there's a compatibility here in the way that he's giving you attention, sorry, I should say, and the way that you're receiving that attention and decoding that. Does that make sense? Okay, let's hop into point number 7. Attention is very important for all of us. Maybe I want to have a show on just attention, because it can be very complex sometimes, understanding how to give people attention in the right way in a relationship. Okay, let's do this. Point number 7. Some of you may have experienced this. You could tell me in the chat if you've ever experienced this when I explain it. Okay, let me draw this up here. We'll give her a power pony today. Her pony won't look as good as yours, though. Ooh, we're going to give her lopsided eyes. Yeah. That's what we doing. And we giving her a box body. Yeah, she get that box body. Yeah. And then you're over here. We're going to draw you nice, okay? Beautiful hair. Beautiful hair. Absolutely stunning. You're gorgeous. You should be on America's Next Top Runway Model. Look at you. All right. Nice, beautiful eyes. Beautiful smile. Beautiful, beautiful. Excellent figure. 10 out of 10. Okay. This is you. Okay. So, but in all seriousness, I want you to kind of envision this, because this can happen a lot in your relationships with guys. And this is definitely a sign that you guys are incompatible here. You will meet a guy and you'll be like, okay, cool, this guy's single, so I'm assuming he's ready for a relationship. That's an assumption. Then in the process of you talking to him and going on dates with him, you realize something kind of unsettling. He talks about his ex a lot, not a bad thing, but when he's talking about his ex, you kind of feel like he's not over her. And then you start thinking to yourself, okay, I hear him describe his ex, and then I hear him describe the things that he likes, and it just sounds exactly like his ex. Then as I'm dating him, I hear him tell me about the things that he would like me to do, the ways that he would like me to dress, the ways that he would like me to talk, and it kind of feels like he wants me to be his ex. Because, let's say for the sake of example, his ex was, let's say a gym girl, right? That's what he also wants for me. Let's say his ex and him, right? Let's say they did business together. That is what he's trying to get me to do with him, right? Let's say his ex's favorite thing to wear was a red dress. And that is exactly what he's trying to get me to wear as well. Can you guys see that on the bottom, right? So after a while, you'll start to realize this thing, that this guy doesn't really necessarily want you to just be you. He wants you to be like a doll of his ex-girlfriend, that he can essentially dress you up, make you look like, and make you act like the girl who he's no longer with. It sounds very weird, but it actually happens a lot more than you think. And I want you to be paying attention to that, because even though you might start off the relationship thinking, well, that's not so bad, whatever, I want to please my man, so I kind of want to be what he likes. You'll eventually realize you can never actually satisfy him when he's trying to turn you into this girl. Because much like they always say, you can never be the original. You can't out-original the original. So everything that you do, no matter how much you change how you talk, I see some of you even mentioning it in the chat, so someone that's like that. No matter how much you change how you talk, how you walk, where you go, how you dress, you will never be able to turn into someone else. Well, at least you'll never be able to be a better version of that someone else, right? Because they're the original. So the reason I say that is because you'll feel very unsatisfied, because you'll never feel like he's satisfied, and he'll feel very unsatisfied because you can never be the ex. You'll always just be a dress-up doll of the ex. And I don't want you to be that. But I want you to be paying attention to that when you meet men, if they're trying to just turn you into the ex instead of seeing you for who you are and what you're like. That will become very obvious to you when everything that you do, he's always trying to adjust it or tweak it so that you can be this person instead, right? It's rather than him accepting you or trying to learn and understand who you are, he's trying to say, no, 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 stop doing it this way. Do it this way instead, because this is better for you, or this will look better, or this will be better. And everything that you want for yourself is not good. That's not the right answer. The right answer is to do it this way. And especially once you get the understanding of what his ex is like, this is actually why it's good to know what the ex is like. Because when you know what the ex is like and you hear him trying to make adjustments for you, it'll be very obvious that the adjustments he's trying to make for you is to make you more like the ex, okay? You would never know that if you didn't ask enough questions about the ex, because you'd just be thinking he's making suggestions based on what he thinks is good or what he thinks is nice, not realizing he's literally just trying to dress you up as exactly what she was, which is not healthy, because you can never be who she was. You want to be you, okay? Does that make sense to all of you beautiful people? Do you guys have any questions about the 7 that we just discussed here today? Okay, very, 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 very important. Okay, if you guys have any questions about those 7, you can ask me up in the chat, and I will make sure to answer. By the way, if any of you have a question unrelated to today's show that you want to ask me a question about, and it's about your relationship or situation, very long, you can all send me in a private question by going to the link in my bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube, and you can click where it says private relationship advice, and then you can send me in a question, type out as many paragraphs as you want, and send it in to me, and then I will respond with a voice message, usually 8 to 10 minutes long, and you'll get your answer that way, okay? Does that make sense? Right. Cindy says, this is so good. What Tommy is saying right now, trust me, it happens. Incompatibility can be something that when you go out on dates with people, you don't want to be looking forward to or thinking about, because you just want to believe that everything will be perfect. But relationships are also about logistics, like I like to say. So you want to make sure that you're going through the logistics very early on. Stephanie said, how early is early? I think from the very first date, you should be thinking about, especially the logistics part of dating. So like, where do you want to live, right? Obviously, you don't necessarily have to be talking about sex on the very first date, but lifestyle is one of the, you should be talking about lifestyle on the first date. In the first couple of dates, you want to get an understanding, hey, we're not necessarily saying we're going to have children, but in your future, what do you envision raising your children like, right? Like, you want to be having those conversations to get that understanding, right? The attention thing, like Nicole just said, the attention thing is going to kind of build over the course of time, because it's not just something you talk about, it's something that you receive from him, and then you're going to kind of see if that works for you or if it doesn't work for you, okay? LP Baby says, Tomisin, it's like the inner machines of my mind. Hey, it's magical, okay? If I'm saying something that resonates with you, then there's definitely a reason for that. That means that the message was meant for you, okay? Nicole said, looking forward to the show on attention. Hey, trust me, it's coming very soon. I'll make sure to write it down in my notepad, okay? Someone says, is this for appearance too? What do you mean by that? Are you talking about this? Oh, like the ex? Yes, actually, yes. I put here like the red dress to describe appearance as well. If you understand what his ex looked like and you realize that he's trying to get you to dress exactly like her, that's also something that you should be paying attention to, because he's trying to make you like her. But we want to make you you. We don't want a guy to be with you because you look exactly like his ex and he's trying to just make you that girl. Okay, that's not a very good thing. Okay, you won't end up very happy if that's going on. Okay, someone says, I think you should talk about this, that he can be a great guy, just not your guy. Right? Oh, you like the incompatibility? Yeah, I 100% agree. The incompatibility isn't necessarily a someone's right and someone's wrong type of thing. It's also, in a sense, just, hey, we're two different types of people. And the fact that we're two different types of people just make it so that a relationship for us is just not going to work, which is fine. Doesn't mean that either of you did anything bad, right? Also, someone asked, Tamara says, will you upload this on YouTube? 100%. This is going to be uploaded on YouTube. So if you want to get this information, you can go over to my YouTube channel. If you missed any of the points or you came late, go over to my YouTube channel, which is right above my head on the top right corner of the screen. Just type in my first name, Tomisin. You'll see me live there on YouTube at the same time as I'm live on TikTok, and then you can rewind and rewatch the show there where we're, having all of this discussion, okay? Sporty Ladybird says, met a guy on an erotic language workshop. Erotic language workshop. I've never heard of that before in my entire life, okay? An erotic language workshop. Let me finish reading your message here. We had very different sex languages, but his personality was 10 out of 10. He wants to take me out. Do we have a chance? Here's the thing I'll say to that. Sporty Ladybird, if you feel like you and a guy have very different sex languages, like extremely different, you have to ask yourself a really important and honest question. Are you open enough to exploring what he's into? And do you think that same thing vice versa? Because even though you might have differences, if there's openness to exploring those differences, then that can possibly work. But I will warn you, having extreme differences in your sex language will make it very, you don't want to be in a relationship where pleasure feels like, okay, is it my turn for pleasure or is it your turn for pleasure? Because we have such different definitions of pleasure that only one person can be having pleasure at a time. Do you understand what I mean? So for example, if let's say you hate feet, you're disgusted by feet and disgusted by putting your toes in someone's mouth, and your man is in love with feet, he's obsessed with feet, he wants to rub it all over his face and put your toes in his nostrils. If that's the case, then it's gonna feel like either we do your thing where you have my foot in your mouth and you're just sucking on it like a pacifier, or we do my thing that I might enjoy, which is completely different and you don't enjoy it as much, right? But in that scenario, it's like everyone has to feel like, oh, it's your turn for pleasure, I'm gonna be so bored and unstimulated, right? You don't want that. You want there to be a mesh where there's an equilibrium of both of you can feel pleasure or enjoy it, even if whether you're giving or whether you're taking, but everyone's kind of like experiencing pleasure. That way it doesn't have to be like, oh, this is my turn or this is your turn, because then it's gonna feel very much like a job instead of something that you do for the fact that you enjoy it, right? Someone says, you're talking about my ex, he loves feet. He liked your toes. Okay, hey, everyone's into something different. You know what I'm saying? Passy says, is it bad if I am not his physical type, so all of his exes look like me, and that's what he chooses, versus I'm the exception? See, here's the thing. I don't necessarily think that a guy has to date you only if you're his physical type. I think that guys can date outside of their type. What I don't want though, is I don't want him meeting you being not his physical type and then trying to turn you into his physical type. I'd rather, if he's saying, hey, I'm gonna date someone that's not my physical type as an exception, accept that that person is an exception, and he should be embracing the fact that you're an exception and different from all of those other types that he's usually dated. If that's the case, then that's perfectly healthy. That can definitely work. What we don't want is him meeting you and then trying to change you into his type or something like that. That wouldn't work properly, okay? LP Baby says, question 4, if he's my boyfriend and is following, let me see where it says, pineapple workers on IG, is that cheating? Also, solo friend hangouts consider cheating? That's a great question, LP Baby, and it actually perfectly, I should have even added it when I talked about cheating. That is perfectly an example of a compatibility issue where you can experience incompatibility with a guy if you guys aren't on the same page on that. So for example, if you consider it, because I'm not here to tell you guys there's between right and wrong, but if you consider it cheating if a guy's following sex workers, pineapple workers on Instagram, then that's your own preference and definition of cheating. Now we need to focus on finding you a guy that has that same understanding, because sometimes it's going to be very difficult to explain to someone, hey, I don't like this, or this makes me very uncomfortable, if their view is the complete opposite in some cases, right? Now, obviously the following people on IG is a little bit more trivial in the sense that it just requires an unfollow, but something as serious as like, hey, I don't feel comfortable with you hanging out one-on-one with a best friend or a whatever or a girlfriend. That's something that you really have to come to an understanding. Hey, are we on the same page about that? Because if you think that it's appropriate to go and hang out with a girlfriend by yourself one-on-one, and I'm very uncomfortable with that, and you don't see how that makes me uncomfortable, or you can't envision yourself changing that about yourself, we might have to reconsider this, because you can't be at such a difference where something so extreme for you is so oppositely extreme for the other person that you're just going to end up arguing and fighting about the same thing over and over and over again. Okay. So just be thinking about that. Class says, I don't get creeped out by the feet thing. It's just pineapples. It's just like pineapples on a pizza. Hopefully your feet are clean. There's lots of heightened nerve endings in your feet, neck, ears, everywhere if you know how. That's very true, but everyone's into something different. Some people, they just don't like feet. They don't like their own feet. They don't like their feet in someone's mouth. It's just not their thing. And some people, they love feet, okay? Everyone's a little bit different. Trust me, I know. Question from your last show, where's a good place to meet quality men? Was it the last show I talked about that? I think it was the last show I talked about that. Anywhere where people are growing, investing in themselves, investing in their spiritual, mental, or emotional energy. So i.e., right, places like church, places like the gym, places like, we even talked about it, the library, like a museum, an art show, a conference, like we had a bunch of those that we discussed there, right? Where people are growing, investing in themselves, investing in their spiritual energy, their mental state, their mental health, things like that, right? Growing and investing, okay? Those are what you want to be focused on. Places where people are going to just F time off, or places where people are going to get rid of their toxic energy or to make their ex mad, those are probably the places you should be avoiding if you want to meet the highest quality men on a regular basis. Is it even possible for a guy to not make the first move even when they do like a girl? Well, some guys will like a girl and then still not make the first move because they're too shy. But that shouldn't be your worry. You're not worried about dating the guys who are too shy to make a first move, because that's useless to you. What are you supposed to do with that, right? Like, if that guy's too shy to make the first move, how's he gonna be a leader in your relationship? He's don't got no cojones, okay? In a past stream, Pazzi says, in a past stream, you wanted to know if any of us have seen our guys, corn folder. I have, and it was all the same type of physical appearance, and it was nowhere close to what I look like. So then, Pazzi, my thing for you, my next steps for you would be to sit him down. It doesn't have to be a shame thing, but you would probably want to ask him, like, okay, so like, what do you find hot about this? What is it that turns you on about this? Why are you into this? And try and dig deeper into the psychology of it. And it's not about changing yourself, but figuring out if there's like a happy medium between what he seems to watch, regularly, and what you can do to help to be part of that fantasy, if that makes any sense. Because you might think, oh, it's just about the physical build, and he might tell you, oh, no, it's because they all do this thing, or because they all remind me of whatever the case may be. And asking those questions can help to at least help you understand a little bit better, rather than just feeling alienated by what it is that he's looking up or watching, okay? Especially if that's already your man, you kind of want to figure out, you try and understand first before just being like, oh my gosh, like I'm disgusted, like we're not going to be able to work out type of thing, okay? Sarah says, what if my friend is divorced, doesn't want to marry in the future, but I want to in the future? Shall I wait? Wait, what? What do you mean your friend is divorced? Are you talking about the guy that you want to, like, your guy you're wanting is divorced and you're just calling him your friend? If a guy doesn't want to marry in the future and you want to be married in the future, you should not even date that man for 1 second. Not 1 second. Don't go on a dinner date, a friend date, a nothing date, a movie. Don't do any dates with it. If someone you're seeing does not want to be married in their future for whatever reason, and you envision yourself getting married, don't go on a date with them. You're wasting time, because you want to know what's going to happen in 1 year. They're going to say, I'm glad I spent 1 year of your time with you, but I'm still not ready to get married. And then you're going to be like, wait, what? I was hoping that you were going to change your mind. I thought you were just saying that because you weren't ready back then. I didn't think you were going to spend 1 year with me and then still not be. No. Don't do that. Don't do that to yourself. Don't waste your own time. Just move forward, okay? They can know if they ever change their mind and they change their view, maybe you might reconsider them, but you should not be considering people who are telling you they don't want to get married when that's what you want. You're wasting your own time, I assure you. Let's hop into our first video reaction of the day.
Dark Psychology, Women Edition. Listen very closely, women. You'll never look at a man again if you pay attention to the words I'm about to say. A high-valued woman is a mirror, showing men exactly who they are. I'll repeat, you didn't catch it. A high-value woman is a mirror, showing men exactly who they are. Let that marinate. Listen to the video a few more times. You'll finally get it. You'll finally get it. And then you'll make him.
So here's the thing about, I believe that that's true. I also believe that anyone who carries himself with self-respect, discipline, knows what they want, is self-aware and accountable to themselves, will hold up a mirror to anyone, really. It really, it's funny. I was just talking to a friend about this the other day, right? For example, I don't drink, right? I tell you guys this all the time that I don't drink anymore. I used to drink, but I don't drink anymore. I quit probably it's like over 2.5 years ago. But when I go out, right, it's forced me to kind of change the type of people I hang out with, because those that love to get belligerently drunk, they will feel a little bit uncomfortable being around me if I don't drink. Simply because it's kind of like, man, being around you and you not drinking makes me realize that I'm actually kind of doing something. I'm actually kind of being a little bit of a degenerate, if that makes any sense. And it makes me feel bad about myself. I would rather not feel that. So either I would love for you to drink so that we can be around and I don't feel worse about myself, or I'd just rather not hang out with you. In which case, some people just decide to stop hanging out with me because it felt uncomfortable to be around me if I'm always going to be reminding them of how they're choosing to live their life, right? Holding up a mirror to them, even though I'm not really doing anything, right? Someone says, do you smoke? No, I don't smoke either. I don't drink or smoke or do any drugs. I'm boring, chat. Very boring. Very boring.
Men perceive and experience love through unconditional acceptance. That's my claim, and I'm going to use evolutionary psychology to back up that claim. I'm going to talk about women, but I'm not going to create...
Chat, you think I'm a square? I don't drink, smoke, or do drugs. Am I a square? Tell me the truth, chat. Am I a square?
A claim about an end result in how women experience love. I am not a woman. I can't speak to that. And as a man, I will never understand women. Since that's out of the way, let's talk about men and relationships. Okay, so the average mean of all relationships on Earth are male-female relationships, right? All romantic, love-based, love relationships. So we're looking at males and females together. Well, in biology, we have a sexual dimorphism. Sexual dimorphism is when there's a species that has two or more different sexes, and those different sexes will have different physical attributes, right? For humans, men have more.
Okay, he's gonna get into it, but just 1 second, chat. I just want to, because you guys know me, I'm weird. I just want to know, from a woman's perspective, how do you all feel about the large mustache on men? Because, sometimes we as men, I know that we do things and we have an assumption that women like them, but they might not. So I'm just curious, because it's all women in the chat. How do you guys feel about the large mustaches on men? Is that hot for you or no?
More muscle mass, they tend to be taller, bigger. And what does that mean about men in the species as a dynamic with women? It means that we have more physical power. Not only that, but men also have testosterone that makes us crazy and more aggressive. And so men are more physically aggressive, and they have the monopoly on physical power. Okay. Women are also aggressive. Women are actually covertly aggressive. When I was in college, I had to go to a preschool with two-way mirrors and watch the behavior between kids. And one of the papers that we had to read and then corroborate was basically the behavioral dimorphism of boys and girls. And what they found out was that boys are more overtly aggressive. They will knock over your toys, and they're concerned with power and object manipulation. That's a big thing. Object manipulation, using their hands as tools to create things and build and stuff like that. Girls are more associated or care more about social structures and simulations of social hierarchies. And they are covertly aggressive. If they're mad at you, they're going to tell the teacher, and you're going to get in trouble. And that is going to basically lower your standing in that social hierarchy, right? That's what girls do versus boys, all right? So girls, if we look at the tools that boys and girls have, girls actually tend to have more social capabilities. They're more attuned to this kind of social hierarchy thing. That's why women tend to play in these different simulated social hierarchies of things with like chisme, with gossip and watching TV shows that have drama and stuff like that, right? There's a social hierarchy simulation going on in these activities, whereas boys tend to be more into other stuff.
So it's funny. It makes me think of something that I've talked about before, which is when you're thinking about how to help a guy help you in terms of his expression of love for you, you figure out how you can get that man to do things for you. Do you get what I'm saying? Because like he mentioned, right, boys are more hardwired to work with their hands and take action in that sense, right? Doing things, picking things up, putting them together, taking them apart, figuring things out, solving a puzzle, and then, getting that answer and then bringing it back to you, hunting that deer and then bringing it back to you. So if you want to kind of appeal to a man's natural senses or the way that he'll naturally be able to exist in a relationship, right? Understand how to give love and attention. You figure out how you can give him tasks to do for you. Not like you're his mom or anything like that, but you figure out how to be like a damsel in distress. I know it sounds very silly, and allow him to solve your problems with his desire to be a big man for you. And then as he's doing that, he will also feel closer to you as he's taking action for you. It sounds very strange, but because men are so hardwired to take action in that way, it actually makes them feel closer to you. And I'm telling you this because I've experienced it as well, right? When I'm taking action for a woman, I feel more emotionally invested in her versus the woman that I'm doing the least for. I feel the least emotionally invested. It's kind of in a weird way why people like Shira will be like, get him to spend as much money as he possibly can on you, right? Because as he's taking that action for you, spending that money, draining his bank account, it's affecting his investment in you emotionally because he's becoming more and more emotionally invested in you. I'm laughing because I saw it was an Instagram video that I don't think I should even be showing those of you who are young because it's a very just not. Anyways, let's go on to the next one.
Ladies, please stop making this Valentine's Day mistake. And yet I see so many of you do it over and over again. All right, you might be in the early phase of dating a guy. Hell, you may have been with him for a long time. But when it comes to this one holiday, this is what you do over and over again, and I want you to stop. Stop trying to micromanage him. Stop trying to talk him in to stepping up his game to create a plan, to send you flowers. Hey, what are we going to do for Valentine's Day? Because he hasn't mentioned it. Hey, you going to get me flowers? No, stop doing that. Let him show you who he really is. And the only way you're going to know if your guy is high value, if he's motivated to make you happy on Valentine's Day, because even if a guy's not into Valentine's Day, he certainly knows it's important to women. So if he hasn't mentioned a plan, if he can't figure out to get you flowers without you mentioning it, then what kind of guy have you got, really? Ladies, a lot of you ladies are so desperate to be in relationships, and yet the only way you keep this thing going is by you being the puppet master, telling him, aren't you going to make a plan with me? And you get on him and you're nagging him and you're bugging him about it. You're going to send me flowers? Instead of doing that, you should do this. This is really what's going to get his attention quicker. Stop. Don't mention it at all. But instead, go and make a plan with your girlfriend. Go out and be around somebody who actually appreciates your company, will be grateful for your company. Instead of trying to micromanage and make this dating relationship thing with this guy who's not stepping up his game, trying to make it into something, trying to turn lemons into lemonade, why don't you just go out with your girlfriend? Because then when the day comes and he goes, oh, wait, aren't we going to go out tonight? You go, oh, no, I actually made a plan with Kendall. I made a plan with Sarah. I made a plan with Courtney. I didn't. And don't be nasty about it. Just be like, no big deal. She wanted to do something, didn't have anything to do. I didn't think we were doing anything. You didn't mention it. I made other plans. Boom. And then keep your plans with your friend. Keep your plans with your friend. Do not cancel your plans if your guy tries to step it up, okay?
I actually like this strategy because this is the best way to show men that your life goes on with or without them. And I actually think it's a really good lesson to show a guy early on in your dating stage with him that your life moves forward with or without him there. And it's not meant to be a spiteful thing. At least I don't think of it like that. I think of it as it's just kind of like training a puppy, right? You want to show your puppy, even though it's a young pup, that you mean business. That way, when it's an adult dog, he understands you don't have to say too much. You don't have to talk too loud. You just snap your fingers or you whistle and he knows exactly what's up. It's the same thing with your relationship with your guy, right? You want to show him, look, if you're not going to be proactive, if you're not going to plan, if you're not going to schedule, if you're not going to do the work, perfectly fine. You're not going to hear me throwing fits, but my life will go forward. And one day you'll come back and you'll say, hey, do you want to go out? Do you want to go here? And I'll be like, nope, I'm already enjoying myself doing something else. And they'll be like, damn, now I'm at home doing nothing, sitting at home watching her stories. That's how you really get back at a guy. When he wanted to make a plan with you and you tell him, sorry, I'm already doing something, and then he's at home watching your stories while you're enjoying yourself out, then he'll really remember, next time I probably want to actually ask her or be proactive instead of just waiting around expecting her to be the one rotting away in bed waiting for my text message. Okay, I'm going to show you guys this video. I'm going to show it to you just because I know some of you are asking, whatever, it's whatever. Okay. But I'm not responsible for any of you who are under 20 years old watching this because I'm not getting you into anything that you're not supposed to be doing. Okay. That's your own prerogative. Okay. You shouldn't even be watching my show if you're under a certain age. Let me send this to myself here. Give me a second. There it goes. Okay. Send this to me. Let me go to my page here. It's yeah. When you see it, you'll know. You'll know what I mean. Okay. Let me go to my messages here. Where'd it go here? What the heck? Hold on. Let me play this while we're playing the video.
Never confess your feelings to a guy. Do you hear me? Never confess your feelings to a guy. You will never in your life humble yourself more than when you think you need to confess your feelings to your current crush. And I know you're sitting there, you probably already have a huge paragraph in your notes.
Okay, here it is. It's a silly video. Don't even know I'm showing you guys this.
Did you know that there's literally men out there who will fund your life, fund your shopping, fund your car, fund a house for you because they have literally fetishized the idea of like a hot entitled girl who doesn't need your money but wants it anyway and is gonna live her princess life and never have to work, and they're called fin subs and pay pigs. And I know it sounds like a joke, but I swear to God, over 600K in 3 years now. And now I'm teaching girls how to do it. I also started doing just Tootsie pictures, which already some of the girls who took my course made over $1,000 in their first 2 weeks just with feet, faceless. And there's also men who will literally pay to humiliate them, bully them, deny them.
Okay, wait. We'll pause it there. The reason that I found this video, and her whole page is dedicated to this actually, but the reason that I found this video interesting is because you can do that in a smaller dosage with your actual man, not like turn him into humiliate him, but like you can make it a role play of like, hey, I'm your little princess, daddy, you want to do things for me, you want to buy things for me, you want to spend your money on me. Like you can do that with the man that it works with, right? Obviously not all men have money in number one, but also, right, you can actually incorporate that as like a kinky little thing that you guys do, right? And remember, men are hardwired to take action for you. So when you can on an ongoing basis make that like your thing and you can make it even sexual, you can trust me, there's an element to this psychology that does work on a lot of men. So don't like, even though this is on the extreme, I don't want you to even think that this necessarily can't apply to your own personal real relationship, even though that guy's not some sort of, you're not using him, right? But in understanding the psychology of how you can kind of play into that in a way that gets you what you want will be very beneficial for you, right? Even in a smaller dosage, right? Let's go to the other videos here because that wasn't the purpose of what we were trying to do here. Okay,
Ladies,
this one.
please.
My therapist punched me in the chest when he told me Like, I was courting somebody at the time, and he was like, yo, you're curious about that girl, but you're not committed to getting to know her. And I was like, bro, what do you mean? He was like, look at your actions. Your actions illustrate that you're intrigued, but they also illustrate that you're not invested.
Oh, someone said, where do I go to drop my story? You can either send me a private message by going to the link in my bio on TikTok or in the description on YouTube, or you can drop it in our Discord, which just go to the Discord and go to the relationship advice forum.
And I was like, all right, dude, you're being semantic. There's really no difference between curiosity and commitment. Like, what do you actually mean? He said, yes, there is a difference. He said, Nick, when you are committed, you are consistent. He said, like, that's how you know the difference between your commitment and your curiosity. When you're committed, you're consistent. He said, when you're curious, you come around, you try to make time when you can. He said, but when you're committed, you are consistent. And that's when he taught me the difference between curiosity and commitment. My therapist punched me in the chest.
Should I get a therapist? I don't know why that made me think of that. So I do like this because if you think about this from a man's perspective, then it kind of makes sense to you, the difference between a guy who's showing you interest in a small sense by like watching your stories all the time, and a guy who's actually showing interest by asking you out. And sometimes it can be frustrating because you feel like the guys who watch your short story should be asking you out. But the reality of it is it's just curiosity. And curiosity is not good enough to have a relationship, be successful. So you don't worry too much about the guys who are just curious about you. You worry about the guys who are trying to be committed to you. Obviously, they're not going to be committed from the very beginning. But I'm talking about that level of interest, right? Of commitment, of trying to make it work or build something here or see what you're about, as opposed to just being curious about you and maybe I'll watch her stories and maybe I'll never ask her out type of thing. Does that make any sense?
So here's another green flag to look out for to know if a guy is like actually interested in you. And this goes against the grain of like texting. Like, it actually doesn't matter how much he texts you. Like, everyone thinks like, oh, he has to text you all the time and every 2 hours. Oh, no, that's just your anxiety talking. A man who considers you, that's a word that nobody freaking talks about. A man likes you when he considers you. And I'll use the example of texting. You have two guys that haven't texted you all week long after an amazing date. One guy just goes ghost, and then on Tuesday he hits you up out of nowhere and says, yo, what are you doing tonight? The second guy texts you the next day and says, yo, I had an amazing date, but I'm going to have a really crazy week this week. I would love to see you again. What are you doing next Tuesday? Both guys aren't hitting you up. Both guys are not talking to you all week long, but one is not considering you and the fact that you may feeling a little nervous about that date. The other one is thinking, wow, I don't want her to lose interest or think I'm not interested, or she might be nervous so I don't hit her up, but I am going to have a crazy week, so let me hit her up and let her know. And don't give me the whole, well, he's probably talking to some other girl and da-da-da-da-da, and just because of I'm not talking about your dusty ass ex here, okay? Just bear with me. Again, verbalization and consideration. Like, that is the key. The consideration through that verbalization, because he is thinking of you. And he is thinking of more of just, how can I get her based on my own selfish needs? But let me make her feel safe and secure and let me lead, so she wants to keep seeing me because I like her. Something to look out for.
Yeah, it's also kind of an example of empathy, right? Because in understanding that someone else might have anxiety based on your own actions, you try and ease their anxiety. Well, you're a woman, I should say. You try and ease your woman's anxiety before it becomes anxiety, right? Understanding that if I was in their shoes, I might be a little bit confused because I don't have all the information or all the facts, right? Now, is everyone going to have that level of emotional intelligence and empathy? Honestly, not. But you're not going to be looking to date or be in a relationship with those men anyways. So this type of activity are the green flags that you want to be looking out for, because obviously the men that you don't want to be dating are the men who aren't capable of doing this. So, but I do agree with Mr. Eli here.
This is something that seems flattering, but is actually a red flag in the early stages of dating. Part 2. By the way, I'm Valerie Adams. I'm a love and mindset coach for single women who are ready to attract the relationship of their dreams. If you're into that, give me a follow.
I wish I had such a nice, amazing title like that. I'm just a human being. I'm not a professional coach in anything. Just me, human being, man, person, boy.
First few weeks of dating, he's wanting to text you and talk with you on the phone all the time. This is likely a red flag because you are creating an emotional connection and even an attachment to someone who you actually don't know if the majority of the relationship and getting to know each other is done just through messaging back and forth. When you're in this ongoing, constant conversation with someone, especially if you've only met them once, or worse, if you've never met them in real life before, and you're revealing parts of your day, you're getting to know each other. He's getting to know exactly how you spend your days, what you're doing, how you're feeling. He's really getting to know the ins and outs of your life without actually investing time. This ends up being dangerous because you could create a fantasy in your mind of who you think this person is, but you don't actually know them if you're not also spending just as much time getting to know them in real life. And it can feel flattering to have someone constantly reaching out to you, asking how your day is going, checking in with you, wanting to share things with you. But at the same time, that doesn't replace actual effort. The actual effort is in the man who's going to ask to see you and make plans and actually move things forward. And if that's not happening, before you know it, you can have a pen pal, or you could feel very emotionally connected to this person who's not even who you think they are, or worse, you're not even compatible with them. They're not even someone who you could actually have a relationship with, and you could have found this out way sooner had you actually spent time with them, more so in person, and gotten to know each other on actual dates versus messaging back and forth for days on end. When you can hold the standard of keeping texting conversations light and really saving the vulnerability and sharing parts of your personality and more specific things about you to the actual dates, you're going to find that not only will you be investing your time in higher quality people, but it's a privilege for someone to get to know the ins and outs of your day and really get.
This is the funny thing about the mind and how the human mind works. Very interesting. When you see a picture of a person that you've never met before, you immediately build a character of that person in your mind, including their voice, including the way they talk, they walk, and they act, and all that good stuff. So then when you read a message from that person with that picture, you like read it in the voice that you've created for them. And you read it in the way that you think that that picture would act based on the character that you built off of that picture. And it just is a very strange thing that happens all at once. And then as time goes on, you continue to build all these different parts of that picture's character and personality and all these narratives and stories about their experiences. And then to the point where you literally have what that person is like in your mind. And rarely is it actually the same as what they really are. And then especially, like, it's very different. Even something as simple as, for those of you, like, you guys watch me, right? I come on the show and you hear me talk for like 2 hours straight, no cuts, no edits, nothing. You all have a much better understanding of who I actually am, hearing me talk for 2 hours straight and my train of thought and how I process information, than if I was even just talking for 60 seconds with a bunch of cuts and edits. Because now you kind of really get to see the essence of my being and my person, versus even if you were to just only see a picture of me and create my voice, my way of speaking, my way of processing information in my mind, it could be, well, it will be very different from the actual person that I am. And that's the same for any one of us, right? So it can become very easy to fall into that trap and not realize that the person that you're texting the whole time is a creation of your own mind, not a creation from real reality. And we've had it in the Discord where not only has it been from people that people have met on Facebook, but even something as crazy as just seeing someone's Snapchat Bitmoji and building them up in your mind, talking to them, only seeing their Snapchat Bitmoji. I can't believe it, but it's happened in our Discord before.
Controversial opinion. Talk money if he talks intimacy at any point in time during your date or relationship, and I'm going to get into why. First off, disclaimer.
Let's see what she has to say first.
I don't give a rat's ass any longer about someone saying, well, that sounds like prostitution. Well, that's funny, because let's break down what society does to a woman when she gives it up out of love. It's odd that society tells you to not be materialistic, not do any of these things, right? And somehow you're supposed to fall in love with words and with men and their words. And when you do just that very thing, I don't care if it's 3 dates, I don't care if it's 3 months. Somehow, if he gets the goods and replaces you, leaves you, it becomes the woman's fault because, well, your standards were on the ground. So is it better to be used up, played, traumatized for absolutely free? Or do you get over your trauma faster because you can count up some money? I don't give a shit anymore what anyone says it is called. I would rather women now get money because the reality is he's going to disrespect you either way. First and foremost, when a man looks at you and wants to date you, he wants to bang. I don't give a shit who you are as a man. You are not thinking, wow, look at that personality. Wow, look at the mother of my kids. Look at my lifelong partner. Please stop it. What he's doing is he's blatantly telling you how he wants to your body for absolutely free. Why would you sit there like a lady and let him talk that way to you? If you rolled out your list of standards and finances was on there, he's got an issue, along with society and quite a few pick-me's. I would say your life is your own. You are in charge of your standards and your destiny. Stop giving a rat's ass about people telling you what it looks like and sounds like because you would rather something monetary. Here's the reality, and this is also something I want to get at that just really pisses me off. When a guy says, well, why should I buy you gifts and do anything for you? Why should I put money in your hand? You're not my wife yet. Funny enough, if you can't do it now, you're trying to get laid, you're never going to do it when you're in a relationship. In fact, you're going to throw it up in her face that you didn't have to do anything in order to get the goods in the first place. So why are you holding me to such a high standard now? You realize when you sleep with a man, you've already did the part of a wife. Where's the lie? Hold on, can I see it? Either. Is the lie hiding out with the zero fucks? I can't find it. Where's the lie in that? I find it disgraceful that a man can hint at what doesn't work for him and what a deal breaker is when he's on a date. Oh, I'm very affectionate. Oh, I love touch. My love language is lots and lots of intimacy, like sex. But if a woman says, well, great, you know what? Let me stop you right there. Well, let's just talk money. What are you planning on doing for me financially? And then it becomes a problem. Be a problem. Make it a problem and hint at what he thinks he expects to get. Why aren't you hinting at what you want? You're already being disrespected, so just cut the date and put that all out there on the table and tell him what you expect. Then they want to mention love. Well, that's funny. You're not interested in love. You're interested in using me. You're interested in disrespecting me. What do you mean what happened to love? Y'all unalived it. That's what happened to love. Y'all men unalived it. Now we're matching your energy. First of all, to be a woman and you not know that the moment a man looks at you and walks in your direction, he wants to bang you, something's wrong with you.
Okay. I wanted to let her go so that we can unpack what she said here. Here's the thing. In the sense of, men aren't looking at you and saying, wow, I really love her personality. That's 100% true. But I'm trying to figure out how to say this the right way. The adversarial response of saying, okay, well, if he's going to ask me about intimacy, I'm going to ask him about his bank account. Sure. I mean, cool. I guess tit for tat. But is that really going to get you any closer to the desired goal of being in a relationship? No. Like, if you go on a date and you say, okay, he's going to ask me about sleeping with him, then I'm going to talk about his bank account. So then why are you even on a date with a guy that you don't seem to like his approach to the date? And your response is, I'm going to do something that you don't like as well. Are we here? Like, are we actually on a date to be enemies? Are we on a date so that we can both throw each other some hate? Are we on a date so we can be nasty to both of each other? Not in a good way. That's my question here, is because, like, at the end of the day, even us, in practicing and understanding men and understanding the things that they do wrong and that they don't do well, at the end of the day, most of you here are straight heterosexual women, which means you have a desire to be with a man in a relationship with him. So even though we might talk about things that they do wrong and we might be sad about situations that have happened, we still want to our goal of our strategizing should not just be let's hate men and say that they're the worst. Let's strategize on how to actually get the guy that we're looking for with the relationship that we actually desire, that we feel comfortable and safe in, and that we can get a lot of the things that we actually want out of a man, instead of just feeling like we hate them and they're all bad and they're all disgusting. Cool. There's a lot of men that are not who you're looking for. Let's do a good job of filtering them out as fast as possible. But there will be men that fit the criteria of what you're looking for. It's not about them all being evil. And I don't think that you'll end up in the place that you want Because I'm assuming if you're here watching this show, success for you is having a long-term serious relationship. I don't think you'll be able to get there by having such an adversarial mindset towards men and dating them if you're attracted to men. Because men aren't gonna, the same way you don't like the feeling of someone just coming and saying, oh, well, I just want to sleep with you, I don't want nothing else from you. No man is gonna want the feeling of saying, hey, I just want your money and nothing else related to you, right? So, but there's a give and take there. I can assure you, even though, here's the thing about men, and maybe we might have to talk about this on the show. I'm going to. This is one I'm really serious about. Probably next show it'll be this. I want you guys to understand that through the pursuit of sex, men can actually fall in love. You might not realize it, and it might sound very weird and toxic to you, but it happens all the time. Men start off with the desire for sex, and through that desire, through being paced and through being patient, they realize how much they actually care about the human being, not just the vessel and the body and the physical. And then that's what keeps them long term. Obviously, the men can't come up to you and know what is in your heart. They get to know that over the course of time. Now, it's motivated at the initial stage by their physical desire for you, but eventually as they learn who you are on the inside, that's what they become actually attached to. That's what they actually fall in love with, right? Someone says that's sick in my opinion. Well, if you think about it, it can't be any other way. If a man is approaching you without ever knowing you, knowing what you're about, knowing who you are, knowing where he has no information about you at all, what is the only thing he can even go off of to decide to himself, I'm willing to go up to that woman and have a conversation with her? Like, let's just be like, we have to, as painful as it is, we have to be honest with ourselves, like really honest with ourselves. Men who are pursuing women they've never met, in a strange place, in a random environment, there's only one thing they can use to determine who they will approach and who they won't. And it's not your heart. They can't see that. It's impossible. Now, once they come up to you, that's as soon as they come up to you and they start having a conversation with you, that is when things begin building from conversation number one. Because then once he can have a conversation with you, he's learning about you. He's understanding how you are. He's understanding how you carry yourself. He's understanding your character and your personality and your spirit and your soul. All of that extraness is what actually makes him really attached to the idea that I don't just want to approach her one time. I want to continue getting to know her. Right. And it's okay. Like it's not even a bad thing. I know for some of you, it's uncomfortable to think that men are approaching you because you look good, but that's the reality. Okay. Like they're approaching you first because you look good. Then they learn more about you and they become attached to that more about you, that internal, those intangibles, for the rest of their lives. You understand what I'm saying? Right. When they marry a woman and she becomes his wife, his attachment to her is a lot more than just, hey, she's attractive to me. It's inside her, right? It's okay. It's not a crime. Okay. It's not a crime.
What you need advice with?
Actually, my boyfriend's in Chicago. He told me that he wanted to take a break and we're long distance. So there's no such thing as a break in long distance. So I said, let's break up. We still be texting. Should I just cut it off? And he got 3 kids.
Just so I'm clear, so you're a long distance stepmother?
Oh, why would you say it like that?
No, I'm just asking.
Is the baby mom in Chicago?
Yes.
I guess I gotta go.
I mean, the mom is in a relationship herself.
I think the grandmother the baby.
The grandma might be the baby.
Listen, Sting.
Not that man has a kid.
Back him up.
Listen, my heart. Listen. You seem like a smart woman to me. I would never want to steer you wrong. You're a long distance stepmother of 3 to a couple that still live in the same city. I'm not liking your odds here.
Yeah.
It's sad, but this happens. We've seen it in our Discord. This is part of the other reason I don't like long distance relationships, because men like to. So it's funny. I talked to you guys about not texting, and some men, they love texting, but the reasons they love texting is a little bit different. Some of them, especially in these long distance relationships, they like texting because it's easy for them to chat with you when they're not with the girl that they're usually with, and then put you to the side when they're with the girl that they're usually with. So it's like, you've ever heard of, people that can be attention whores? It's like that, right? For a guy, like, it's like being an attention whore, where he wants attention from the girl that he's with in a physical sense when he can be around her. And then when he's at work, or when she's not there, or when she's, dating her other man, he wants attention from you. So he messages you, and you guys have what you consider to be a long distance relationship, which is really just him texting you so he can get attention from you when he feels like it. And then all of a sudden he disappears whenever he's back with his baby mom, his girlfriend, his whatever, his situationship is, whatever you want to call it, right? So just be aware of that. Anytime, especially when you're in long distance with a guy and you're noticing on a regular basis, he does these constant disappearing acts where it's literally just like, for an extended period, he'll just be nowhere to be found. You can't call him, you can't text him, he's not watching your stories, he's not posting anything, and you're like, what is going on? That's what's going on. Okay. All right, chat, let's hop into the next segment of the show. Okay, if you're an OG Players Club member, you know what time's coming up, so I want you to spam it up in the chat if you know. And if you don't know, because you're new here and you've never been here, you're in for a treat. Okay, it is a very special time. It is a very amazing time, and it is a time where you're indeed going to laugh and you're indeed going to cry. If you don't know the time, I'm going to tell you the time. Should I yell or should I be quiet? Which one? Quiet or loud? Quiet or loud? Quiet or loud? Spam it up in the chat. Don't look at your watch. Don't look at your clock. Don't look at your phone. Don't look nowhere else in your home. It's a special time. It's an amazing time. And if you don't know the time, I'm going to tell you the time. Score time! Oh boy. Okay, chat. It is indeed Discord time. It's that time of the day. So we're going to hop into our Discord segment of the show. Now, for those of you who don't know how this works, I'm going to explain this to you right now. So Discord time is where all the amazing members of our Players Club Discord community get an opportunity to ask me a question about their relationship or their situationship, and I answer it live on the show. Now, I'm going to explain to you the different ways in which you can submit a question to me, because there are 3 different ways you can submit one. The first way is by going to the link in my bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube and click where it says Players Club Discord. And then when you click that, you'll be able to hop into our Discord and ask your question in our free relationship advice forum. Now, I'll warn you, why is there a Canadian flag here? I'll warn you that the way that this forum works is by a first come, first serve basis. So obviously there's lots of questions and I'm only one human being. So it's very difficult for me to get through all of these. You see all these highlighted questions I haven't gotten to yet. So there's a lot. Okay. A lot of questions here. Now, I'll warn you, if you ask your question here today in the free section, it will take me a couple of weeks before I can get to your question, just because there's so many. Now, if you don't want to wait because you're an impatient type of person and you can't wait a couple of weeks to get your question, you need it answered like today or the next show, you can also ask your question by going to our premium relationship advice forum. Now, the only way you're allowed to drop your question in here, and I'm very meticulous about this, is by donating to the show. Now, the way that you do that is by going to the link in my bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube. Click where it says Premium Discord Relationship Advice. Then when you click that, you're able to, you're prompted to put in a donation. And with your donation, you'll send in the title of your question and your Discord username. Then when you send in that donation, I get a notification on my phone that says that that's your donation, and it says that that's you and that's your question. That way, when it's in the premium section, I know that it's supposed to be in there, and I'm actually going to read it out, because you're supposed to be skipping the line, right? I didn't mention that. This is like the skip the line pass, because all of the people in the premium section get read out before I go into the free section there, okay? So just keep that in mind. It's like a skip the line pass at a theme park, okay? So if you want to skip the line, you can do that, but that's how you do that. Now, the third way to send in your question is if you're someone, oh my gosh, why is there so much stuff in here? Is if you're someone who wants to ask your question, but you don't want your question to be read out on the show. That's perfectly fine. Now, you can go to the link in my bio if you're on TikTok or in my description on YouTube and click where it says private relationship advice. And then once you click that, you'll be able to send me in a question, type out as many sentences as you want, and then when you send it in, it'll only get sent to me. I'll respond with a voice message, and then I'll be able to answer you on my perspective or what I think of it, or some advice for you if that's what you're looking for. Okay, let's hop into our first question of the day here. Okay, so I think I had accidentally skipped Pansy's question. Did I? No, not this one. I think it was a free question that I accidentally skipped. Okay. Just letting you know my question was skipped. Old friend. Okay, so I think that one's in the free section. We got to do the paid ones first. Okay. Should I continue or leave him be? So S says, hi, Tommy. I am 36, dating a 38-year-old man for about 2 months now. He is divorced and has a son. He is a very caring man who is also very protective about me. He goes that extra mile to make sure I'm happy, like giving small gifts, planning and taking me out on dates, prioritizing me, being concerned about my moods, communicating about his day, and everything a good man does to keep his girl happy. Sounds like a good guy so far. You get the gist, right? Sounds like you're setting me up for a horror story. But however, there are 2 issues that I need clarity on. He is consistently talking about his past, about his exes or anything, but in general, he talks in lengths about his childhood, giving minute details of how his schooling was and how he did this and that, and how in the past he had hard times. P.S. He had a very lower middle class upbringing as he lost his dad early on, and his mom was the only breadwinner of the family, raising 3 kids, him being the middle kid. So he's probably lacking some attention. I am not saying these stories are necessarily bad or anything, but after a point, it gets so boring. I am unable to relate myself to these stories because those things had happened in a time when I wasn't part of his life. If he does this, rarely it's not a problem. This is what he's constantly talking about. Okay, let me answer this part first. Here's the thing. I can understand why hearing stories multiple times can kind of be a little bit uninteresting if you're hearing them over and over again. But here's the thing that I'm a little bit worried about when you're saying this is, I'm just going to be real with you because I don't want to sugarcoat this. It's striking me as a little bit of selfishness when you're saying this, only because when you sent in your message, when you said this here, you're like, after a certain point, I become unable to relate myself to these stories because those things happen when I wasn't a part of his life. This is what concerns me about that statement, is that it sounds to me like you're only interested in things that have to do directly with you. And if they don't have to do with you, it becomes very boring or uninteresting to you. I'm not accusing you of, necessarily that, but I'm worried that that is your approach to this relationship. That, hey, talk about things that are relevant to me, or talk about how much you love or appreciate me. I don't really care too much to hear about your past, especially with things that aren't related to me or aren't relevant to me. It just, I'm worried about that approach because I'm also scared that this will come across in the way that you receive him and speak to him. And after a while, you'll begin to create an environment in which he would rather not share things because he feels uncomfortable talking too much about things that you find uninteresting. Do you understand what I'm saying? As a woman, I don't think it's ever a good idea to begin creating an environment for your man where he feels uncomfortable sharing anything. Because the easiest thing for men to do is shut down emotionally. That's like almost like their default. They already come into most relationships thinking, I don't want to be emotionally vulnerable. I want to suppress my emotions and I don't want to talk about things. So the worst thing you can do is to make him feel like in your response to him sharing that you're kind of like, oh, is this about me? When are you going to talk about how much you love me? When are you going to talk about how much you want to be with me? When are you going to talk about something that's relevant to, stop talking about this childhood stuff. I'm so bored. I'm so unstimulated, right? If you give that type of energy, he will immediately shut down and he'll shrivel up. And then what will happen is down the line, you'll start asking yourself, why does this man never share anything with me anymore? Why does he never talk to me? And why did I find out that all the stuff that he should have been talking to me about, he's been talking to some random girl on Facebook about, or some random high school girl he used to date in high school about? And you'll be asking yourself that question when the answer is in, right here in your paragraph, right? And I really mean that. It's not to be mean to you, but your approach to the person that you're supposed to be growing with and your partner should be, I love understanding more about you. My honest advice to you is, if as a woman, you genuinely feel uninterested in hearing about that person's life before you, I don't think you should even be dating that person, because I don't even think you have real, true investment and feelings for that guy. Because my understanding is, when I really like someone and I really care about them, I love hearing about their life before me, because it grows in I grow my understanding of them as a complete human being. That's actually one of the most exciting things for me. So the fact that that's so uninteresting to you makes me worry that you might not even like him for the right reasons. Do you understand what I'm saying? So number 2, he has anger issues. So I have mild PMS. Sorry, chat. What's PMS again? I just want to make sure we're on the same page. PMS that kind of hits me up PMS before my cycle. Some months are so bad that I tend to get angry and triggered. It's not unnatural. However, I am able to manage otherwise. I have informed him that I do suffer from this issue. He is not unaware. But this month I completely lost it and I was lashing out on him. What do you mean by lashing out? Now I'm a little bit concerned. I hope you describe what you mean by lashing out. Instead of understanding me and trying to be calm, he was also yelling and we went back and forth. Then I felt so emotional and ended up crying and apologizing. But even then, somehow in my heart, I can feel this man. I feel, can this man handle me? So you're questioning it. Or is it that because I reacted harshly, he retaliated? I'm confused, Tommy. I need your advice. That I would need you to actually give me the specific example of what you did and like what you said and what he did and what he said in response. Because I can't make an assumption of how severe it was for him to react harshly if I don't understand what it is that you did for us. Because you could be saying, oh, I have PMS and I have anger issues. So when I was asking him to get me a donut, I yelled at him to get me a donut, right? Like that is something totally different from saying, yeah, I have PMS, so I cursed him out. I called him broke. I said that his pee-pee's small, and I said that nobody would want to be with him in a million years. That's very different, right? So I would need to know exactly what you did and said to know if his reaction was more retaliatory or just more based on, him being hot-headed, if that makes any sense. Do you understand what I'm saying? Also, we have not had pineapples yet. We have intensely tongue-kissed, and he has fondled my yitties and dump truck while kissing. Okay, thank you for that information. So here's the thing. Very important things that I am concerned about. You saying that you find it very unstimulating and uninteresting to hear him talk about his childhood, especially because they have nothing to do with you and like you weren't in his life at that time, concerns me. Because it doesn't make me feel like your investment in him is really in him. It makes me feel like your investment in him is either for status or for you to feel better about yourself, if that makes any sense, whether it be emotionally for the attention or whether it just be, to have him claim you as his girl. Either one of those is not the right reason to be in a relationship. You should take an interest in your partner. So the fact that you naturally don't feel that interest in him makes me feel like you might be with the wrong person for you. Okay? I'm not saying it's a you problem or a him problem, but I do think you should naturally feel that investment in the human being that you're supposed to be with romantically. Because what are you supposed to talk about if he's not talking about you and things that concern you, I'm really worried about how you're going to take that. Do you understand what I'm saying? And the thing about it is, you're saying things that, you weren't a part of his life. But what if he's having a discussion about his mother or something that's happened with his family that you're uninvolved in or is unrelated to you, but it's happened while being with you, but it doesn't affect you at all, really? My question is, are you really actually going to have empathy and care for him? Or are you going to care for him as long as he is or as long as he is talking about you, giving you attention and doing things for you? I'm not saying that you shouldn't want him to do things for you, but I am concerned that you find it very uninteresting to hear about him and his own life, and very unstimulating. That concerns me. So I think you need to ask yourself a question of how much do you really have invested in him and how much do you really even like this guy? Number one. And then as it relates to these anger issues, I also think you're probably going to have to be self-aware enough to ask yourself, is my reaction and response even justified? And the way that I am reacting and responding to him, is that helping to trigger him? Because I know you asked me that question, but obviously I'm not there. So I don't even know what you did. You're just saying lashing out in general. So I don't know the severity of your lash out. And that's something that you're going to have to balance out, because the same way, obviously, someone having anger issues and overreacting to something that you did is unfair, is the same way it's also unfair to him. And if you guys are both fire and fire, we're going to have a large problem here, right? If you're your PMS goes out of control sometimes, first of all, you still have to be accountable to yourself. You can't just allow that your condition to become like a thing where it says, hey, I'm allowed to do or say whatever I want, but you have to just take it. That's not okay, first of all. But number two is, you got to make sure that if you know that this is part of your personality and something that's very unique of your personality, you're going to need a very unique and specific type of person to be with, someone who's very patient. You still have to take accountability, but there is a certain level of patience that you have to understand. I'm not even going to be able to be in a relationship with someone who has the same level of fire as me, because we're just going to be both going at each other. I need someone who's really patient. And that should be something you're looking for when you get into your relationships, okay? Let's go on to our next question here. This one comes from Gigi. Okay, so Gigi says, debating whether or not I should pursue a man in the army. Excuse me, sorry. Burped into the mic there. Hi, Tomisin. Most of the time, I, 19, can't deal with these issues on my own, but it's a bit complicated for me. Okay. Gigi, I'm sorry to tell you, and I see some pineapples here. Chat, should we read this out? She's 19, and she sent in a premium question about a man in the army. I'll let you all decide. You know my age limit is nothing under 20, but I'm going to let you guys decide. The guy that she's talking to is 20. He's in the army, and this is a premium message. Should I read it out or no? I'll let you all decide, okay? All right, someone said go do homework. Said too young. My age limit is 20. I don't like to go under 20. Okay. All right. Someone said, yeah, she sent in her last coins. Okay. Let me confirm that this is Gigi's question. And then if it is true that this is really Gigi's question, let me make sure, you know what I mean? And then if it's really her question, we'll go ahead and we'll read it out. Let me just make sure here. So, okay. I do see it here. Is this a Gigi? All right. Yeah. So we'll read it out. Okay. We'll do it for her since it's a premium question. But I don't want any of you under 20 years old getting any ideas. Okay. We're not doing this on a regular basis. So this guy I'm really interested in is 20, reached out to me a day before he left for boot camp, BCT in the Army. We had history. We've been sending letters, and he calls every Sunday when they gave him phone time. I'm staying detached, still crazy about him, but he doesn't need to know that. So far, I can tell he's really into me. I'm not the type to spend too much money on a guy, especially not one who isn't my boyfriend. However, this is where things fall apart. He wants me to come to his BCT graduation in April. His mom is willing to take me as long as I pay for the plane ticket. It'll run me about $400. It would mean a lot to him, considering this is more important than graduating high school for him. The day before he left for boot camp. So he only saw you one day really in real life. And ever since then, it's been letters. Okay. Now into the history. 2 years ago, we went to high school together, but never had anything to do with each other. He followed me on Insta. We would chat as friends occasionally. I was in a relationship. He was in a relationship with someone in our grade, but never interacted with me during that time. A year later, he expressed interest in me. We went on a total of 3 dates before I had pineapples with him. Wait, what? Big mistake, 18-year-old me. In my inexperienced mind, I wanted to rush things because at the time he had a job that required him to travel a lot, which is exactly why you shouldn't rush things. He would have been gone for months at a time, and I didn't want to miss out. The pineapples was really bad for both. Oh my God. The pineapples was really bad for both of us and ruined the rest of that date. Oh my God. Oh my God. It was that. Oh my God. It was that bad? Wow. Okay. Later that night, he told me we didn't work well and suggested we stayed friends. Oh my God. It was that bad? Oh, wow. I appreciate your honesty, Gigi, but wow, it was that bad that like immediately after it was, let's just be, wow. Wow. I can't even imagine what you guys must have been doing there. Okay. I offered to call and talk, but he declined. Oh, what happened? Something must have really happened there. Wow. I would love to know what happened like during that actual situation. Cause that's not wow. That's a wow. I would just say that. Wow. I cut him off after that. Later, I found out he was so embarrassed by his pineapple performance, he figured it was better to dip. What happened? My best friend really told me you broke his masculinity, girl. He tried to DM and follow me twice throughout the next 6 months. I usually don't block exes. I just don't respond. Part of me wants to see what they say. Okay. Fast forward to when he reached out to me via phone number. He apologized and told me he regretted what happened between us. According to him, he felt so awful, in fact, that he swore to become a changed man. He lost a ton of weight. He was very overweight, didn't pursue other women in that time frame, got sober off of nicotine and alcohol, and signed up for the army, hoping it would change him. Most of that, I believe, most of that I believe. Some I have to verify in person, so you're still not sure. Okay. Now I will say he is very disciplined, independent person, and he backs up all of the promises he makes. At times, he lacks emotional intelligence because he was raised in a very emotions are weak, hard labor, blue collar type of household. Now the issue is, from what I've researched, after he finishes BCT, he most likely won't be coming home until he finishes AIT. What's AIT, chat? In August, 13 weeks of training for his job. Even if we decided to keep in touch and date long distance, I will be leaving for the Air Force that same month. Wait, oh, you're also, okay. You're also, okay. So we're not just talking about him. You're also going to be doing your own thing here. All right. This makes his graduation the only guaranteed chance I'll get to see him. He acknowledged I'll be leaving as well, and he wants to stay in contact with me while I'm in the Air Force. What are your thoughts on continuing this, staying friends, cutting him off altogether, or buying the ticket? Your advice has been working wonders for me, and I don't expect it to let me down anytime soon. Love you. Okay, Gigi, I'm going to be very honest with you. I don't think that this is a relationship you should bother exploring. I'm going to tell you the multiple reasons why I say this for your specific situation. Number one, you're still very young, right? So there's still a lot of experience you need to gain in relationships and your understanding of how they work and of men. It's going to be very difficult for you to gain that experience if you're in a long distance relationship, because you're kind of getting the worst of both worlds. You're in a situation where you can't explore other potential relationships because you're with this guy, but you're also not gaining real experience of relationships because you're with a guy that's not actually with you. You're just, literally having a pen pal. And even though I'm sure his heart's in the right place and your heart's in the right place, you guys are moving in two totally different directions of life. Not only is he in his BCT and then eventually, going to be in the army, you're also in the Air Force, or at least that's where your life is aligning towards. So it's not even like, oh, you're at home, you're waiting for him, and whenever he's going to have time, you'll be free and you'll be there ready to see him. It's also that even when he does have time, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to have time. And let's just say hypothetically, he now has a time where he's free for the next 1, 2, 3 months and he's not deployed or whatever the case may be. And during that time, you have your own obligations and you're not going to be free during that time. And you guys have conflicting schedules. You're almost never going to see each other. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, there is no, as of right now, like there is no real light at the end of the tunnel, in the sense that like as your lives are maturing and growing, you're just growing further and further apart. Not because of anything that you guys did wrong. It's just a difference in lifestyle, like we talked about today. And unfortunately, when you have that much of an extreme difference of lifestyle, it's going to be very hard to build anything off of that. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like when you see someone that you're supposed to be romantically invested in, when you see that person a total of maybe like 2 or 3 weeks out of a year, that is so difficult to build. We're not even talking about you guys already have an established relationship and then you're just maintaining it. To build off of that, seeing someone 2 to 3 weeks out of a year, like that is close to impossible, especially for the age that you're at, where you're still gaining so much experience and there's still so much you need to learn about yourself. Like from trust me, I'm telling you this, from 19 to like 25, you're going to be a completely different person. Your mind will be different. The way you think about things will be different. You'll be looking back on 19-year-old you at 25 and be like, who the hell is that? I don't know who that is. I don't even know where I was at mentally when I was doing those things. And the reason I'm saying that is because this is you and him are both going to go through such a drastic change in your lives during these years of your early 20s. You don't even know if you'll be aligned with the person you guys will both be at 25. And the truth of the matter is, you most likely you won't be. And the reason I'm saying all this is because these are all part of the reasons why I think it's better for you to just spend this time focused on you. If you meet someone in the Air Force, cool, so be it, right? But I would rather you meet someone that you can actually see and spend real time with and grow a relationship with and grow your experience of relationships with, rather than someone who's going to be a pen pal with you for forever, okay? On top of the fact that you guys already did explore the sexual chemistry part, and it's clear you guys had very little. Now, I understand he's lost weight since then. He's changed his life since then. So a lot of things could be different. But that also is a little bit worrying to me, because you didn't just say it was bad. You said it was really bad for both of us. And I'm really concerned that, moving forward, imagine this. Okay, imagine this horror story. Imagine you spend, 8-9 months just writing him and sending him letters, anticipating the next time you're actually going to see him. And then when you finally do see him, the couple weeks out of the year that you actually get to see his real face in real life and touch his body, you have horrible sex with him. Can you imagine how disappointing and frustrating that will be for both of you? To only see each other a couple weeks out of a year, and the couple weeks you finally guys get to do it, it's always trash. I wouldn't wish that life on anyone. So the reason I'm saying that is I think all of those multiple reasons are reasons why it will be better for you to just move forward. I'm not saying you guys can't be still cool and, whatever, send each other letters every now and again for emotional support. But I think it would be better for both of you to just move forward with your own lives in the direction that you guys are both growing in, and allow yourself to explore what life has to offer you in those areas, right? And explore someone that will probably be a little bit more aligned with your lifestyle, okay? Let's hop into our next question here. Our next question comes from Miss Princess in 4D. So a few questions. Is there such thing as being on the phone too long / semi-long distance? Me and Ghanaian man have come to the conclusion that we are official since... Wait, what? Sorry, I'm reading this wrong. Have come to the conclusion that until we are official, since... I can't sleep over yet, we will see each other once per month. Okay, once per month. just because of the travel expenses, etc. Twice this week, we've been on FaceTime and stayed on for hours. One of our calls was 7 hours. During that FaceTime, we talked about 4 hours, then fell asleep on the phone. We made midnight snacks together, and it was honestly really fun. The other FaceTime was 4 hours, and we both opened up to one another about things. We both lost our brother and father. When I told him about how I have no family, we read a Bible verse together about the story of Job. We really like having these calls, and honestly, I feel closer to him, and he's mentioned he feels closer to me. He put my picture as his wallpaper for his laptop and his phone. He said he has a whole photo album of pictures/videos of me. When we go out on dates, he takes pictures of me, the once a month, and he finds ones I've posted and keeps them in his album. For what? He said he is in love with me and he writes poems about me. Okay. I told him I'd rather he tell me something like that in person. I didn't say it back because honestly, it's just a hard thing for me to say to anyone. In past relationships, I've taken 6+ months to say it, and me and him have been dating about 3 to 3.5 months now. Let me know your thoughts on this. Is it normal? He said it. Here's my thing about this. You guys have obviously been seeing each other for a while, but my worry here is you're making this too comfortable for him. From the standpoint of you guys chatting is not a bad thing, but I'm worried that the amount of satisfaction he's getting from FaceTiming you is making it easier for him to say, yeah, once a month seeing you is okay. It's perfectly fine with me. Because I do want in a perfect world, in a better world, he would be making these trips to have a conversation with you and seeing you that way at the very least. You understand what I'm saying? And even if, so for your specific situation, since you guys are in a kind of like a long distance thing, even if your dates go longer because you have to kind of, coming all the way 4 hours to just spend only 2 hours on a date with each other can feel a little bit like, damn, I came all this way. I get it. Even if your dates go a little bit longer, I would rather your dates go a little bit longer in person than to have 7-hour FaceTime calls. Because after 7 hours of FaceTiming someone, he probably feels so satisfied with the level of intimacy he's getting from you, the level in which he's getting to know you, that he then says, yeah, the desire I would have had to see her in person is a little bit subdued now because I feel like I've had such a good conversation with her over FaceTime. That's the thing that I'm worried about. I think he enjoys talking to you, but I think that because you're giving him so much enjoyment talking to you over FaceTime, it's actually making it easier for him to say, yeah, once a month is not a big deal. I don't need to see you any more than that in person, right? For our next date on the 22nd, he asked to sleep over because traveling back and forth the same day would be a lot given his schedule. I told him we can't share a bed, so he would have to sleep on the floor. Why not? Do you not have a couch? I'm confused. I'm confused a little bit. Is this okay? I told him if he's comfortable, then sure, but then I would be stern in not sharing a bed because we aren't official yet. Should I be nice and share the bed even though I said no already? I just don't want to come off like I don't stand on boundaries. But what do you think? I'm very like where's your couch? I'm confused. Where's the you don't have any, even if you live in a studio apartment with no actual bedroom, like don't you have like some sort of like small sofa that people can sit on? Is it like your house is only your bed? I'm confused there. Why can't he sleep on that or lay down? There's nothing for you to lay down on aside from that? A futon? A beanbag? Anything? Nothing? I would love for him to sleep on that. That would be better than sleeping on the hard floor. Okay. Maybe even a sleeping bag, something. Also, I wanted to ask because according to your Pineapple's timeline, we are good to do oral finger things now since we are at the 3 to 4 month mark. Well, if you're referring to the Pineapple/SEX timeline, you also want to make sure that all the things I said you should have gotten answers to and gotten understanding of at that time, which is like meeting at least, I believe I said some friends and some family, or having some sort of conversation with them, whether it be over the phone or in some capacity, like at least some confirmation that people around him are real and they know you and they know of you and they know that you guys are dating, and you can have some sort of conversation with them to confirm some of the things that he's told you. Once you have that, then you can hop into the fingers and the oral and things like that. If you guys haven't had that and you still don't know anyone in this close inner circle or haven't had a conversation with them, then you're not ready for that, because we still have to confirm that he is who he says he is. And we don't just want to go by what he's only said to you and what he's only shown you without any sort of third party to confirm that. So very important there. On another note, his birthday is coming up in April, and by that time, we will have been dating 4.5 months. I want to plan something for his birthday, but let me know if this is too much. Sometimes I can be an overgiver, but I show I care by gift giving too. And as you know, he gives me gifts as well. Here's the plan. Flight lessons. He mentioned that being a pilot was his childhood dream. Dinner at an African restaurant. He'll probably pay, even though I'll try to beat him to it. This place will be nice since he's Ghanaian. He'll enjoy the cuisine there, and they have great reviews. You should probably take him to a Nigerian spot if he actually wants to eat real good jollof rice, because I can assure you, Ghanaian jollof rice is not as good as Nigerian jollof rice, okay? Then we'll come home to my place, and I'll sing happy birthday. I'm not laughing at this. I just think it's kind of cute. Cut his cake, and which will be chocolate cake because it's his favorite flavor. I may bake the cake myself. I'm a pretty good baker. Lastly, I'll give him gifts which will be the engraved pen that he says is his favorite quote, an LED desk light with his name and favorite basketball team, a t-shirt with his favorite basketball player. Let me know if this is too much and where and if I should cut back on anything. He doesn't want to sleep on the couch, LOL. Thank you, Tommy. Why would he rather sleep on the floor than sleep on the couch? I'm confused. I don't understand that thought process. Because like it's why sleep on the hard floor? If he would rather sleep on the floor than the couch, then sure, whatever. But if you should offer him the couch, okay? Now, when it comes to his birthday, okay, based on the amount that you guys have been dating at that point, doing something nice for his birthday, perfectly fine. I'm not gonna say no to any of this. If you feel like he's been showing you a lot of the things that you need and expect in a relationship up until this point, then I'm more than happy that you will show him some things back and allow him to see that you care as well, because guys love to feel special on their birthday and feel like someone cares as well. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. All the stuff that you mentioned here, I think will be perfectly fine. And you know him well, so these are obviously clearly well thought out for him to show him that you care as well. Now, as it relates, I think the most important part of your question here is really as it relates to, what you should do about this traveling situation and this back and forth, because obviously living 4 hours away from each other is kind of difficult. And it's kind of like a mid-tier. It's long distance in a sense, because you can technically drive there in one day, but also doing that there and back is so stressful. It's almost unrealistic. So for you, I would love for you to, obviously you've spent a lot of time with him in person. So now we're in a transition period where things are getting a little bit more serious. When he does come over, I'm not going to say that he can't sleep over, but this really needs to be a feel out session here. I want this first sleepover, so to speak, to be your way of feeling out if this is even something that's going to work in terms of like you guys being able to do this again, or if this is something where it's like, all right, this is not going to work. You know what I mean? So let's see how he responds. So this is my advice to you. Go the whole day. So make your thing a day thing. Let it start from the beginning of the day. Then when he comes with the expectation that he's going to sleep over, let's see how he responds to you, how he acts, and all this good stuff. Feel it out. If as the day is going by, you feel comfortable and you're like, okay, you know what? This is a vibe. I don't feel weird about anything. I feel like he's not trying to push towards anything or anything like that. Cool. Then when you guys actually do the sleepover, see how he actually goes about that. Is he pushing to try to sleep in your bed? If you have to fight him about the bed issue, like he's like, oh, please let me sleep in your bed. I don't want to sleep on the couch, and he's really pushing for it, then you know this sleepover thing's never happening again, because clearly he's not respecting the boundary. Now, if he comes over for this sleepover and things go smoothly in the sense that like he respects that you said, hey, you're going to sleep on the couch or you're going to sleep on the floor, and that's just what it's going to be, then you know, okay, there's respect here. I've set a boundary and he's not complained about it. He's not tried to push forward to it. He said, okay, I respect how you're going about this. I want to spend time with you, and I want to figure out how we can make this work. Even though I live far, he's obviously come to you and tried to make an adjustment for you. So that respect there will show that there's some mutual respect and that this can work, right? As long as two people are willing to make a little bit of sacrifice, understand each other, and be respectful towards each other, I think situations like this can work. Obviously, you've been dating him for multiple months now, so it's not like he's a stranger to you or you would feel necessarily unsafe in his company or being alone with him, right? But still, this is a feeling out process to kind of see where things go and see how he reacts to certain things, right? So when you're doing this, just make sure to be observant of his behavior, right? Definitely no drinking, no drugs, nothing that will put you under the influence of anything, okay? So if he recommends you guys drink some wine, no wine. If he recommends you guys take some shots, no shots. If he recommends you guys smoke some weed, no weed, okay? Even if you just want to make the excuse, oh, I'm just not feeling it today. I'm just kind of feeling nauseous today. Whatever you want to make your excuse for not doing it, none, okay? You're not doing none of that. We don't want you in any sort of altered mind state that will alter your ability to make smart, good decisions, okay? And we want to keep everyone aware of what's going on. And then from this, you can feel this out and then decide to yourself if in the future, this is something you want to continue because you see that he's been able to handle this. It's like taking baby steps, right? You want to see what he's ready to handle. If he can handle this big step, because you guys are in kind of an in-between, it's basically kind of like long distance. So it's harder to do the driving back and forth all the time type of thing. I understand it. And I want to be sensitive to that. I don't just want to be a hard ass and then just say things that are really difficult to actually do. Like, oh, he should be expected to come and see you for 2 hours and drive 4 hours there and 4 hours back and only see you for 2 hours. That's very difficult. Okay. And, so I'm trying to be understanding, and I want you to still set boundaries and be firm on those boundaries while still being able to enjoy your relationship and be in the relationship and accept the fact that if he likes you and he wants to invest in you, then allow that process to take place. Okay. So I want you to go about it like that, but just be observant of what is going on. Okay. Let's hop into our next question. Now, I know that I skipped a few here, so I'm going to try and find all the ones that I may have, gone through here. Okay, so I believe we had one from Pansy and one from, what is this? How to not be a pick Misha. Did I skip this because it wasn't marked by Missy America? Okay, I have to read this one because it wasn't marked by Missy America. All right, this one is how to not be a pick Misha. Hi Tomisin, thanks for all your advice. I'm learning so much. For instance, making eye contact and waiting for the guy to come up to me. Once we start talking, how do I handle it when another girl tries to pee block, side saddle, or back door? Meaning she will go up to his other side and start talking to him, and his focus is on her, ignoring me. Don't be a pick Misha and fight for his attention, right? Should I just withdraw and observe? If he continues to talk to her and ignore me, and especially if they go off together, should I let him go and block him and deny him access to me anymore? This happens far too often with me. Girls can be catty, jealous B words. Okay, so my response to this is going to be by helping you understand how men go about the smart men go about this. So for guys, when you meet a girl, right? Let's say you guys are all in a group, and there's one girl that is particularly attractive, and you and a guy friend are all in a group discussing, and you're kind of talking to that girl, kind of talking to other girls. Obviously, if you and your guy friend have similar tastes in a girl, you're going to kind of both be trying to have conversation with her. The reality of it is everyone has a favorite, meaning if you start talking to a girl as a guy and you get good at realizing, she's feeling the other guy more than she's feeling me. When she's responding to questions, she's looking in his direction. She's smiling more at things that she has to say. She's asking him more questions than she's asking me. You start to get a sense of like, okay, she wants him. She doesn't want me. When you get to that this is what the smart, intelligent men do. When you come to that realization, you say, hey, tonight's not my night. I'm going to let it go, and I'm not going to force it. She's chosen who she wants to be with. On the opposite end of that spectrum, you could also be in a position where it's clear that that person wants you and is showing you a lot of energy. And then it's that other guy's job to be like, hey, time for you to have your isolation. Now, for you, let's kind of vice versa this onto you. For you, if you get to a point where you're talking to a guy and then you realize he's kind of shifting his attention to a different girl, absolutely, it is not your job to then try and be like, hey, look at me. Never, ever, 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 ever be like, hey, look at me. As soon as you see him shift his attention to the other girl, in fact, like even when you feel an inkling of that, my advice is for you to leave and walk away, like physically walk away, so that you can be clear. Because if he's like, oh no, I actually don't actually want her, I want you instead, he'll kind of be like, wait, I don't want you to walk away. Where are you going? What are you doing? Right? And then the what's the word I'm looking for? The attention that he'll place on you as you're walking away or as you're leaving, because he's kind of preoccupied with what you're doing, will also take his attention away from the other girl if you're really the one that he wants. Now, if you walk away when you see he's shifting his attention elsewhere and he really doesn't respond by asking you where you're going or being preoccupied with you and what you're doing, then clearly he's chosen as well. So that's just something you have to come to accept in terms of like when you go out and things like that. Everyone's going to have their different type. Everyone's going to be attracted to someone a little bit different. Sometimes when you talk to a guy, hey, you going to be the one that he wants and he's feeling. And sometimes when you talk to a guy, another girl might come along and take his attention. You know, that's just, I have to be honest with you, that's life. You know, we all can't be appealing to absolutely everyone. It's just not the reality. Some of us, we're going to be super attractive and turn some people on easy. And for some people, we might be a second-class citizen. Hey, it's just the reality of life. Okay, we all been there. Okay, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you have that situation, you just got to accept it for what it is. Okay. Now, here's let's see about these other questions that I had here. Okay, so let me make sure. No skipping. Okay, yeah. So it was Pansy. I marked them. I'm a smart man. I marked them. Okay, so we start off with Pansy. Okay, Pansy says, conversation starters and getting asked out. Hi, Tommy. I am 36. I really appreciate your show and the insights you share. However, some questions that need addressing. There seems to be a wide range of male behavior, from the passive soy boy who doesn't approach to the overzealous guys who bluntly ask for my number right away. Your examples often lean towards one of those extremes, yet the reality is most guys fall somewhere in between. Those who approach with confidence often do so with every woman, which isn't necessarily a positive trait. It's not a positive trait that he's approaching women with confidence? Why? I've noticed that that in your shows, you often give examples of ideal responses from men. For instance, you suggest that men will react predictably to certain situations and messages, but this isn't typically the reality. Well, that's because in reality, there's a lot more nuance than I could possibly spend time explaining, right? When I give a concept or an idea, it's based on generalizations, obviously, of men and their general responses to different types of things or messages or actions. Now, obviously, within that, there will be so many different nuances of people with different experiences, people with different character traits and personality traits, that you're obviously going to have slightly different reactions and responses to each one of those actions themselves. So the reason I just say all that to say, of course, in reality, there's so much more that goes into each individual relationship and interaction than I could possibly explain in one session. Do you understand what I'm saying? There's just human beings. We're complex. In fact, breadcrumbing is far more common and much more trickier to navigate. You frequently say that if a man doesn't text you at all for 2 weeks, it's time to move on or block him. However, in my experience, men do reach out after just 1 week of silence with a simple "how are you?" without addressing the previous issues of their silence. In such cases, how do we respond? Should we acknowledge anything at all? So the reason I give the 2 weeks as a hard boundary is because I know that for men, after 2 weeks of not saying anything to you, in terms of their, reaching out to you for a date or reaching out to you to just kind of have a conversation with you, if 2 weeks goes by and he doesn't say nothing, he's just not interested in dating you. Like, just the reality of it. Like, even if he does want to go on a date with you, it's not pressing enough that you should even concern yourself with it. And so that's why I say the 2 weeks, just so you can have in your mind at this point, this is the cutoff, that I won't even entertain anything after that. That's why I say that. Now, for the 1 week thing, you have to use discernment to decide if this 1 week makes sense or is acceptable or not. So for example, if a guy takes 1 week to respond to you and his response is, sorry, I've had a really busy week and I know I've been really bad on the texting, but you know I said I'm a bad texter, but I really do want to see you. Can we schedule something for next Friday? And you say, hey, you know what? Even though that's not ideal, I do appreciate him acknowledging that he didn't text me for a long time and acknowledging that, you know, he wants to set up a next date. You can decide to yourself, hey, that works for me and I can work with that and I will want to go on a date with you. Vice versa, if a guy gives you 1 week of silence and he says absolutely nothing to you, comes back, doesn't say nothing about it, and is just like, hey, what's up? And, you know, like, it's just like totally bland, then you can say, hey, I don't want to continue entertaining this. It's not about me telling you, hey, entertain this or don't entertain that. It's also about understanding the nuance between when a guy does do that, right? Let's say even if he is completely silent, if you feel like this isn't what you want and that's not what you're looking for and you don't want a guy who's going to go a week without talking to you, that's perfectly fine. You can say, I don't want to talk to a guy who's not going to respond to me in a whole week. Like you're allowed to have that answer for yourself. You've also extensively covered how to attract a guy's attention, but what I really need to know is how to initiate a proper conversation that leads to him asking me out. For instance, I once met a guy at a bar and it was an organic interaction at first because he was blocking the bar and he quickly showed me the way and asked if I was about to order. In a way, he made the first question first. So I asked what he was drinking because he had a drink on the table. He shared his choice. I went back to place my order and did not expect we'd continue to talk. And I was pleasantly surprised when he asked me about what I had afterward. I could feel that he wanted to have a conversation, so we exchanged a bit of small talk about our drinks. But I tend to worry about conversations fizzling out or making myself too desperate / foolish. Tomisin's voice in my head. So I got nervous and decided to make a graceful exit before things started to feel stale. Okay. I quickly left the scene and went back to my friends on the other side. I might have cut the conversation short and given the impression that I wasn't interested, but I actually think he's cute. I just got caught off guard when he asked me to a follow-up question about my drink, and I wasn't sure how to continue the chat. That's why I need your help, Tomisin. I want to be better prepared for next time. After I left, I regretted my decision almost immediately, but we were on different sides of the bar with our respective groups. He was with two friends just watching TV. So this is the thing. Practice makes perfect, right? I know it's difficult because I know you want me to give you a magic pill that will just solve your problems in an instant. But when it comes to conversation and the art of flirting, you have to go out and practice it to get good at it. Especially as a woman, you have to get good at being able to feel and sense when a guy is into you and just allowing him to play off of that, right? And being able to bounce off him in a playful way that allows him to continue pursuing while you're receiving without you ever doing any of the leading, but you're kind of doing a dance with him. I know it sounds very abstract, but it's just something you have to practice to get better at. I can't really give you advice because what you did here is you made him feel like you're not interested. So there's nothing I can do about you taking actions that are making him feel like you're not interested, even though you are interested, because the guys are reading your energy as well. So you have to be aware. I've talked about this in other shows about like, the show wasn't titled How to Make Guys Feel Like You're Interested, but it was kind of like how to make guys fall in love with your energy. And then I also think I talked about how to turn a guy on without touching him, right? These are part of the things where you have to get better at your seduction. And your seduction is even more than just like how you look or anything in general. It's even when that guy does come up to you, how do you keep conversation? How do you keep it flowing? How do you keep it interesting? And how do you keep it playful, right? I've talked about that in other shows with eye contact, with the subtle touching, with the laughs, even if he's not telling something that's that funny, right? Obviously asking questions is one of a great way to kind of make someone feel like you're interested in them and interested in their life. But all of those things take practice. It's not just me tell you to do it and then you'll automatically be able to do it, because like you said, when you get nervous, you start to forget everything and you start to draw blanks and then you're just worried about having a stale conversation, right? And here's the other thing too. The better you get at having conversation, the more comfortable you will be with just some silence, in the sense that like when you're in the bar, for example, and you're there and you're having a drink, when you're talking to someone and you're having a conversation with them, not all the time it will be like a conversation, you guys are like talking over each other. Sometimes you'll talk and let's say you're sitting at the bar, you have a drink, he has a drink beside you, you'll talk, and then you'll say something, he'll finish saying something, you'll finish saying what you have to say, and you'll kind of look at the bar, and the music will play for like 30, 45 seconds, and you might think of something, and then he might think of something, he might sip his drink for a little bit, and there might be a minute where the music's just playing and you guys aren't talking. Then he says something else. Oh, so what about this and da-da-da, where did you guys come from, and da-da-da. Like when you get better at conversation, you'll understand how things flow, and you don't have to feel so awkward. I know that it can be awkward if you're not used to having conversation a lot, but after a while of getting better at it, you won't feel like, oh my God, I'm having the first conversation I have in my entire life, and this has to go like letting go of the idea that your conversations have to go perfect will also take a lot of pressure off of you. Do you understand what I'm saying? But you have to have more conversations to take that pressure off of yourself. This next part, I'm only saying to give you more context, but I have a feeling you're going to scold me. I don't think I did it perfectly, but that's why I'm asking you to give me a better play-by-play at handling the situation that would result in a different outcome. So after spending some time chatting with my friends, I decided to approach him again. I noticed he was hanging around the bar, so I decided to get another drink. Because he was still blocking the bar, I gently tapped his waist. He was facing away from me. He turned around, clearly surprised, which I took as a sign he wasn't used to being approached by girls. Well, you were also getting a drink, right? So it's not necessarily that you were approaching him. I smiled at him as if the touch was accidental, then went back to order my drink. He then went back in conversation with his friends, making it a bit awkward for me to jump in. After I got my drink, I knew I had to make a move because my group was planning to leave soon. I came up to him and asked him what he does for work, but he couldn't hear me. Oh boy. But he couldn't hear me clearly and was confused at first, which was somewhat frustrating but also endearing. Every person I later told the story to said it was a good sign that he was not smooth. He's like a nerdy bro. I mean, sure. We both were so awkward, but as we just started to talk about our jobs, my friend showed up and we were heading out. I felt the conversation end too suddenly, but since he didn't ask for my number, I didn't want to seem desperate, so I just said, I gotta go. Cut short on my part again and left. As I walked away, one of my friends asked if I wanted to invite him to join us because she thought we were friends. But I said, no, we are obviously strangers, and I knew he was with his friends. I felt like I blew this up and he wasn't interested. Later, when I recounted the situation to my friends who were there, the boyfriend in a couple mentioned that the guy that he saw the guy I was talking to looking disappointed as I left. Guys can't get this wrong, right? Now I've felt like we both messed it up and he was interested. Tomisin, which side are you on? Please scold me gently and offer some advice on how I can improve next time to ensure I let guys ask for my number, especially in a fast-paced environment like a bar or an event, besides just smile and do nothing, okay? Okay, so these are your questions in summary. Do you think he was interested in trying to have a conversation with me at first? I definitely think he was interested in trying to have a conversation with you because that's exactly what he did. How I could have developed the small talk into more engaging conversation that might have led into him asking me out naturally. What strategies could I use to keep dialogue flowing? Okay, so one of the great things that you can do is you have to get good at observing people because then those can become your questions. So let me give you an example of an observation. When you go out and you meet someone, one of the easiest things to start asking them a question on to get flowing into their life, ask them about their tattoos. If you see someone has like small little tattoos on an ear or on an arm or on a finger, like take notice of that. Ask them questions about that. For the most part, most people will have a story behind whatever tattoo it is that they have. Even if they don't have a story, that in itself can be a funny story because they can be like, yeah, one day I got drunk and I just went to the tattoo shop and I got a tattoo blackout drunk. I don't even remember getting it, right? Whatever the case may be. Tattoos are a great question. Observation of their clothes or what they're wearing, assuming like maybe they have something particular on, a particular type of earring, a particular type of shirt on, maybe their shirt says something, they're dressed in a particular type of way, whatever the case may be. Maybe they're wearing business attire, right? You can ask them, oh, you're wearing a suit. Do you work in the business district, the financial district? What do you do for work? Whatever the case may be. Even the most basic questions, like what do you do for work and Oh, do you love it? Is that what you want to be doing for the rest of your life? Like simple questions like that can flow into more and more conversation, right? Like I know that I'm not giving you specific questions that you should ask, but that's because each and every scenario will be slightly different, right? Not every guy you're going to meet is going to have tattoos, so that won't be necessarily an applicable question. Not every guy you meet is going to dress in a unique way, so that might not be an applicable. I'm stumbling on my words. An applicable question. The reason I say that is because even in your earlier message, you asked me, well, Tomisin, sometimes when you describe a situation and you say do this and do that, it doesn't work perfectly exactly like that. That's because each human being is slightly unique and a little bit different. So while I'll give you advice in a way that will work in a general sense, you have to figure out how you take that advice and apply it to your own life and your own situation and extract the truth of what I'm trying to say from what I'm saying to figure out how you can apply that truth for you and you specifically. You can't just expect me to say, do exactly this way, say exactly this way, and all your problems will be solved. It's not a magic potion or a magic pill, right? It's you got to work on things and you got to massage them and you got to practice them over the course of time, right? Flirting and dialogue is not something you can just, study in a notebook and be perfect at. How to tell if a guy is just making small talk or actually trying to start a conversation, but not good at it. Trust me. If a guy is approaching you at the bar and having a conversation with you at the bar, most of the time it's not just small talk. Like, what do you think they're going to the bar at? To twiddle their thumbs? No. If they're talking to you, if they're going out of their way to talk to you, I should say, it's most likely because they find you attractive. Why did they come to the bar? To find attractive women to talk to and get to know. So there it is in that, right? Do you think guys who are not good at picking up girls is a good thing? I would say not necessarily. Like I mentioned, we don't really want a guy who is too good at the game. Not necessarily, because you could find yourself frustrated being around a guy who you don't feel like is picking up hints. You do actually kind of want a guy who's good at picking up hints because that allows him to do more leading and you to do more receiving. The problem with talking to a guy who's not good at picking up girls, in like the opposite of an extreme sense, is you'll have to spend majority of the conversation trying to like make it clear that you want him because he's not picking up on the hints. So you don't need to date a pickup artist, but you should date a man who understands the emotional subtleties of conversation and flirting, right? A guy that can pick up on that and kind of play off of you. When you get good at flirting, okay, I'm telling you guys, this is a flirt. When you get good at flirting, you know very quickly on if you're flirting with someone who's also good at flirting. Because when you lay something down and you imply something, they're able to play with it and bounce off you in a way where it's not obvious. Where you both know, we're talking about this, but we're not going to say it. No need to say it, because I know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. And I know what you're saying. And you know what and we understand each other, but we're just going to play this little dance. And it's fun. When you're a good flirt and you're talking to a good flirt, you guys both know you're good flirts. So you don't have to address the fact that you're flirting, right? Now, if you're not a good flirt, that probably doesn't make any sense to you. But you want to become a better flirt because then it'll be even easier for you to pick up on people who are of that same mindset. And a lot of these problems will be alleviated. The other problem with dating or talking to the guys who are not good at flirting at all and not good at picking up girls at all is even when you are a good flirt, they can't pick up on it, right? So you're going to be laying down hints and then they'll be like drawing a blank. They don't realize that you're leading them runway to do this and do that, right? So there's a happy medium there. You don't need to date a pickup artist, but you also want to be dating someone who knows how to do that dance, right? Not dating, talking to someone who knows how to do that dance. And after a while, it'll kind of become clear to you the types of people who are good at doing that dance by the way they'll talk to you versus the people who are not so good at doing that dance, okay? Someone said I'm a Gemini, I'm a natural flirt. I'm a Taurus. I don't even know if Tauruses are supposed to be good at flirting, right? You also said, why did you laugh at the nerdy bro part? Do you think I was Delulu? No, it's because I feel like you're thinking... When you said nerdy bro, it made me think that you were thinking, oh, him being kind of nerdy and a little bit awkward was like meaning that like, oh, he's more down to earth. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like there's nothing wrong with going for a confident guy. Don't be intimidated by confident guys because you're scared they'll be so confident that they won't want you. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't want you to be attracted to the guys who are nerdy because you feel like they're easier to keep or get, because you don't have confidence in yourself that the confident guy would also want you. I want you to have confidence in yourself that, hey, if I find a guy's confidence sexy, I want that guy. I'm not gonna go for the nerdy guy because the nerdy guys I can control more, right? Like that's just why I found it funny. Anyways, let's go into our next question here. There was another one that I skipped. Okay, so we'll mark that one, and then this one is from LP Baby. We're gonna mark this one as well. All right, so this one by LP Baby is titled, just question. Hola, Tomisin. I've been dating the 34-year-old salsa bachata guy for 2 months now. He invited me to his birthday celebration with his close circle / people. I think it's either a beach / park picnic outdoor gathering. My questions are, is it appropriate to go as his friend, girl he met in New Year's Eve, his situationship? I don't think that you should make that decision at all. You're meeting his friends. Let him decide how he wants to introduce you and how he wants to do that, right? Like how he wants to introduce you to people and how he wants to title you. That would actually be, I would love for you to say nothing about it and really just gauge, what does he choose to introduce me as? And how does he choose to describe me to his own friends? That will tell you a lot about where he's at mentally. Okay, actually, it'll be a great barometer for that. I want to go, but I don't know if it's appropriate because I'm not his girlfriend yet. Why? It's just a birthday celebration. Why? Why is that not appropriate? I don't want to be looked at as some floozy boo-boo the fool, some random woman around his people. I want to command respect and be taken seriously, so I don't know if I should go or not. What's wrong with going to his birthday celebration? I don't understand the problem with that. I don't think you look like a fool by going to his birthday celebration. I don't know whether to decline because of this, but I would like to go. I just don't know because I'm just some lady he is recently dating. I don't know about how I'll be perceived. My ego will be hurt if he tells his mom, bros, friends, this is LP Baby, I'm seeing her. Please take advice. Am I tripping? Please keep it real like always. I think you're overreacting to this a little bit, because here's the reality too, is that if his friends and family are going to be there, you'll be able to gauge like how he feels about you. He won't be able to hide it. Like, you're actually killing a lot of birds with this one stone. Going to this party will give you an understanding of how he feels about you. It'll also give you an opportunity to have conversation with the family and the friends, which is definitely something you want to be doing, so that you can get a better understanding of, is the things that he's been telling me about himself actually true, about his life, about his lifestyle, about his desire. All of like, you are in a dream here. You're dating a man that you've been liking. He's been telling you some things about himself, and you've been learning a lot about him, and you guys been having conversation. Now you get an opportunity to be in one room with all of his closest friends and family and have conversation with each and every one of them at once. And you can ask them all questions about him. While he gets drunk and does his own thing, he doesn't even realize what you're doing. And probably everyone else there will be drunk as well. So I want you to understand it. If you can do this, go sober. They're all going to be drunk. I think you mentioned this man is Latin, right? They're all going to be off the tequila, going crazy. Okay. Off the tequila, right? This is perfect for you. Now you get to meet everyone, introduce yourself. They're not even going to remember this conversation anyways. Okay. You'll be sober. Then you get to ask them, he's so amazing. Like, tell me about him. Like, what is he like? What has he been doing? Oh, is he really a crazy guy? Like, I've never been to one of his birthdays before. They're not even going to remember that. They'll just be spilling and talking to you and telling you things that they really shouldn't be, because they don't realize that you guys have only been dating for a few months. And it's great. You'll get to walk away from that. Whether you talk to him or not, you'll walk away from that party with so much more information and so much more of an understanding that you can either way it's a win. Because if you walk away with the information that you realize maybe he hasn't been telling you the truth about a lot of things, that's great. If you walk away with the information that a lot of what he told you has been confirmed and he is who he says he is, that's also great. Like, don't be scared of getting information. Do not isolate yourself, okay? I know it's what's the word I'm looking for? Anxiety inducing to go to a place with people that you don't know and have never met and just be plopped there to be like, okay, just talk. But just remind yourself, most of those people are going to be drunk. The chances of them remembering anything awkward you said or did is slim to none. one, most of them are concerned with themselves and what they're doing that's awkward or weird. So they're not even thinking about you. And number two, when they're off that tequila or that hen dog or whatever, that Casamigos, whatever it is they're drinking, they're not really going to be even paying attention that closely to what it is that you're doing. Okay. They might see you and see what you're wearing, and they'll forget it in the next second by the time they leave. Okay. Just remember that you're not, it sounds weird, but you're not as important to other people as you imagine in your mind, because you're the main character in your own story, right? If I go, is it appropriate to get him a gift? If so, what type of gift? Sure, I would get him something small, something that's probably under $100, okay? But that's perfectly fine. I don't think it needs to be huge. You guys have only been dating for a couple of months, but getting a gift is not a bad thing at all. He is learning French, so I was thinking of getting him one of my favorite French children's book that I used to love to read when I would learn and practice my French. I studied French for several years too, and a handmade or store-bought B-Day card. Thoughts on this gift? I mean, a French children's book is cool, I guess. I think if you were going to go that route, I think it would be cooler if you gave him some sort of like French note written in French by you, if you can do that. I don't know. I don't know how well you can speak French or how fluently, but the children's book's not a bad idea. I'm just like, after he gets the book, do you really think he's going to read it? That's the only thing. Like, if you think he will really read it, then cool. But I would love for it to be something that, my always thing is whenever I get someone a gift, I would love for them to actually be able to use it, because like it's actually something that they were wanting in their life. You know what I mean? Not that the children's book's a bad idea, but do you really think after he gets it, he'll read it? You said yes in the chat? Then sure, get it. For the B-Day card, I don't want to be extra. I just wanted to wish him a happy birthday and that I really appreciate him and I appreciate his company, and that it's been great getting to know him. I actually do enjoy his company. We are compatible. I love to ask you if there's anything to say that will make me unforgettable. Any tips / secret sauce to woo him? What are some sentences that make a man never forget a woman? I want to live rent-free in his mind, regardless of the outcome. I think right now, this is not your time to shine, in the sense of this is his birthday party. And I don't think you need to make the birthday party about like you and like showing yourself to be his woman at this party. I want you to use this party as a barometer, which means just like basically like a meter to be able to judge how does he feel about you here. Because bringing you around his friends and family and seeing how he introduces you and how he talks about you will give you a lot of information of how serious or unserious he is about you. And that I feel like is the more necessary thing that you need to be trying to do here, rather than trying to woo him, just because like you're not in the position of like being his girlfriend that you even need to be trying to do so much for him on this birthday party, right? Like, as weird as it sounds, you're more like you're part of this party as like one of the side characters in a sense, because your relationship isn't as intense that it's like, oh, I'm throwing a birthday party and my girlfriend's going to be there and she's going to be the one planning it and she's the one doing the surprise, right? Like when you're dating someone for many years, your birthday, the birthday of their partner, like you're heavily involved in, of your partner, you're heavily involved in, as opposed to here, you guys are just still seeing each other and feeling each other out. So just let him do the leading and just use this as time for you to gather information, not for you to try and woo him. I don't even think that this is your space for that yet. If I attend, what are some good questions to ask his people, such as his friends or fam? I assume his friends and family are attending, and I'm actually very nervous and anxious about this, and I would love to leave a great impression. Continue down. If I attend, what are some do's and don'ts of conducting myself around my new guys, friends and family? Just be yourself. You don't have to overthink this. Like, you don't need to be a robot in terms of doing this, because if you end up being a robot, you'll come across very unnatural to people. When we're talking about questions, you don't like just strike casual conversation. You can start every conversation with if it's a cousin or whatever, you can just say, oh, are you his cousin? Are you his brother? Are you his sister? Oh, nice to meet you. Da 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 da. Yeah, me and him, we've kind of been going out on a couple of dates, whatever the case may be. You introduce yourself, and then you can just have casual conversation with people. You know what I mean? Where are you guys from? What's your background? Oh, he was telling me that his background is da 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 da, and he was telling me this about you. If it's his mother or his family, people that you've heard about, you could say, oh, he was telling me that you were here, or that you lived here, or he was telling me that you love, whatever the case may be, and you can use the conversation and just let it run from there. I think that when you overthink conversations, you put so much pressure on yourself to be like, okay, in my notebook, I'm going to say this first, and this is going to be my second thing, and this is going to be my third thing, and this is going to be my fourth thing. And then by the time you come to the conversation, if it's not like, if the setup isn't exactly how you imagined it in your mind, then you're thrown off a whack, and you're just like, I don't know what to say now, because in my notebook, I had down that the second question was supposed to be this, and now we're talking about something completely different, and I don't know what to say. You can't be like that. You have to just go in saying, the most important thing is to go in with the right mindset. So whatever you need to do to get yourself in the right mental state where you know you're the most happy naturally, do that. So for example, that could be like, okay, you like to go for runs, that gets you like really happy and you have a really good day, do that. Maybe you like to go shopping, that gets you really in the mood, like just in a happy mood, do that before you go out to the party. Maybe you like to go squat, have a leg day, a crazy leg day before you go out, and that makes you feel really good, do that. Whatever you can do to put yourself in the best mental state to be ready and prepped to go out. Maybe you want to lay out a new outfit, try it on, or wear something you feel really sexy in, do that. That way, by the time you get to the party, you feel good about yourself and you're in the right mental state to be interacting with people. That is all you really need to do to set yourself up for success. Because then when the conversation is flowing, you won't be as self-conscious, right? I don't want you overthinking your questions, because conversations can go in many different pathways. And if you're overthinking one particular pathway, you'll start to have an error code when it doesn't go that way, okay? What type of questions should I ask his mom? I know I should act normal, be polite and kind. What type of questions should I ask his mom to learn about her and her relationship with her son, and see if I can adopt her positive qualities? Because men are subconsciously attracted to their moms, according to Freud and Robert Greene. Thanks always. I deleted a previous part of my question, timestamp from a while back ago, so I had to repost it, my bad. Okay, so here's the thing. I don't think even the conversation with the mom has to be overly pre-thought out. What I mean by that is you can just ask simple things about their background, their family history. I believe you, I don't know whether he's oldest or youngest or middle child, about how many kids she has, about the siblings, and things like that, and just allow the conversation to flow, right? Like, I'm sure like they're all going to be friendly people as well. The reason I don't want to give you specific questions to ask is because I just want you to be open to the conversation going anywhere. I don't know what she's like. I don't know how she'll respond to things. I don't know what type of mood she'll be in when you go and you have a conversation with her, right? He's the oldest of 3 boys, right? Even if you just have a conversation about the things that he's already told you about her. Oh, my guy was telling me about da 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 da. Is that true? Or he was telling me that you guys went on a trip to blah 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 blah. Is that true? Or whatever the case may be, right? And just allow it to flow from there. She's gonna ask you some questions, I'm assuming, as well, and allow that conversation to flow naturally. And then as you guys are having that natural conversation, then you can ask her more things like, oh, what is he like? Has he always been like this since he was young? Moms, they love, trust me, when you can get a mom talking about her son, especially if it's her oldest son and probably her favorite son, moms love talking about their sons. So once you get that going, don't think too hard. The mom, she'll take the lead in terms of talking about her son, what he does, what he likes, what he doesn't like. Like, don't overthink it. Trust me. Just get good at making yourself feel confident enough to have conversation, and then let it flow. And then trust me, as they're answering some questions, you'll be thinking to yourself, oh, so I wonder what that means, or I wonder what that is, or I wonder what that, and then ask your follow-up questions there, right? It doesn't have to be that hard. I think the other thing you said is, what should I wear? You said that somewhere along here, or maybe you just said it in the chat here. What should I wear? Like, if I'm assuming it's a birthday party in some sort of like event space, right? So wear something that you would wear to an event. I think you mentioned flare leggings. My advice is don't wear flare leggings. Like look nice. You know what I mean? Like wear something that looks flattering on you, that makes you look good. There's nothing wrong with dressing and looking sexy when you go out, even if you're going to be around his friends and family. Now, obviously, you don't need to go overboard and you don't need to go super extreme and have your yitty spilling out of your shirt. Okay, right? There can be a nice, healthy balance there. But look sexy. You can look good, look attractive. He'll appreciate you looking sexy, and everyone will be like, "Damn, that's your girl," right? And it's a nice little thing for everyone, right? You will feel good if you feel sexy as well. So go out and if you want to get dressed up, dress in something that makes you feel sexy and makes you feel confident. That will be the best thing for your mind state when you're going and you're having conversation with people. Okay, let's go into the not leggings though. Please no, please the skirt dress. If you want to wear jeans as well, that's fine. Make it look nice, style it nice. Don't not leggings though. Look like you really actually try to look nice. Okay. All right. Let's go to. So this one we did just. Okay. So this one is and a split. We did. Okay. I guess we did that. Morelli. Let me make sure we didn't do this one. Let me just scroll down here and make sure we didn't do it. Okay. This is wow. This is really long. Okay. We'll try and if anything's become irrelevant, we'll have to skim through. Your feedback on the story, please. I'm 46. I met a man who's 50 on Hinge. Okay. His profile seemed interesting, and I was physically attracted to him. Yeah, you're physically attracted to his pictures. When we started talking, I realized he lived 45 minutes away. Since I don't have a car, I told him he was outside my range and decided to discard him. He took it well, and we had barely spoken. A few months later, he reached out. This time, we had several voice conversations through the app. How did he match with you again after you... which I found engaging and high quality. I felt we had a lot in common from some voice messages. He mentioned he drove a lot for work, so the distance wasn't an issue for him. He made it clear he was willing to make the effort. First date, he drove 45 minutes to my city for breakfast, knowing I had to work afterwards. When we finished, he offered to drive to my workplace. Why? Okay. An extra 40 minutes drive in total. In total, we spent about 3 hours together. Okay. Why couldn't you guys meet during a weekend when you're not working? I don't understand. Why did it have to be for breakfast and then you work after? Like, why did it have to be that? Why couldn't it just be a day you're not working? Whatever. He told me I was much prettier in person than my photos. Okay. That he had been divorced for 4 years, had gone on many dates to boost his ego, but was looking for a girlfriend now. Once near my workplace, he suggested parking and coming inside to see me at work. What? Why do you even... I know this is going to frustrate. This message is going to frustrate me. Maria, is that how you're saying it? Maria? I'm assuming it's Maria. That's how you just spell it a little bit different. Why are you even inviting... Okay, you don't even know this guy. Why are you allowing him to know where you work at, like the location of your work? I don't get why couldn't it just wait till a weekend and you guys can meet in a mutual spot that's in your city? But like, why would you want him to know where you work off the bat? Like, you don't even know the guy. I don't understand that. I don't understand that thought process there. I declined with an excuse as the date had already been long enough. Also, you have work. Like, you're walking into work. Second date, the next day, my day off, he was So why didn't you guys go out on that day? He was working near my city and texted me to meet for a quick drink. I was running errands, but agreed to see him for about 30 minutes before heading to lunch. I had already planned with someone else. When you say someone else, what do you mean by that? A guy? Based on the feeling I got during the brief encounter, it struck me as odd that he wanted to see me again in the first place, as he seemed a bit dry this time. Even though he invited me, he made a point of saying he'd expense it as a business cost. He actually said that. I figured that either he wasn't really that into me or he was focused on his work, communication cooling down. After this, he stopped initiating as often. Until then, he always had taken the lead, but suddenly, even when he did, he left conversations at a dead end and made little effort to keep them going. At this point, he was naturally replying quickly, but he structured his response in a way that subtly prevented the conversation from flowing naturally. He didn't explicitly end them, but I felt keeping the conversation alive would require me to force them a little bit, as his responses subtly put the responsibility on me to push the interaction forward, which I decided not to do. Plus, he didn't ask me out for a week and a half. Declined date. Then he finally proposed a date at a romantic restaurant with just 1 day's notice. I already had plans, so it was difficult to fit in. Additionally, since I don't have a car, he didn't offer any logistical solution. It was impossible. Unless I asked him to pick me up, since he didn't suggest it, I declined without addressing the fact that what he was proposing wasn't viable for me, which he should have known based on what I had already told him. The uncertain audio. Okay, all right. After I declined, he sent me an audio saying he didn't handle uncertainty well, felt the urge to delete me and move on. All this conversation is happening over the app. But was tormented by the doubt of whether I still considered him an option. I replied that I didn't know him well enough to say if I liked him or not, but I would be open to getting to know him better. However, I didn't see the point in continuing through, this is WhatsApp now, as I'm not someone who enjoys texting much, as per your instructions. I explained that I engaged a little bit more in texting in the beginning because we hadn't met yet, but at this point, if we wanted to get to know each other, it had to be in person. That given the logistical situation, it was up to him to decide if he wanted to make an effort or not. He replied that he was obviously sure he wanted to get to know me more and that the logistics didn't bother him at all. He even said that he wouldn't mind having a dog in his car because my dog didn't shed and that it didn't bother him. At this point, I thought I was in a perfect position. Then he didn't text me at all for 5 days. 5 days without talking, and the "Are you alive?" And the "Are you still alive?" message. This is what he sent to you. Although I know the advice I would receive here would be to do nothing, I decided to apply a strategy recommended by another coach. Okay, so let's see how this went. According to this other approach, since I had initiated barely 10% of the time, perhaps even less, he may be thinking I wasn't interested. Just in case, I decided to send him a follow-up message saying, "Hi, are you still alive?" Okay, this is great. We now are going to get to break down the advice that someone else gave her. So I always give the advice, do nothing, let the men come to you because they know where to find you if they have your number. You've now taken someone else's advice that said, hey, send him a message that says, hey, are you still alive? So let's see how this works out for you. When he responded the next day, he did so in a dry, distant manner. At that moment, I had the intuition that he had already decided he wouldn't speak to me again, but hadn't been able to resist answering my text. I think this message had the desired effect and re-engaged him, or at least made him reconsider whether I was actually interested in him. Let's see if it worked. After this, he started writing to me again, but he seemed a lot drier to me than in the beginning. He didn't send me songs anymore. My "Are you still alive?" message was maybe an error, as I think he was now angry with me for having created anxiety in him, but I also think he wouldn't have ever texted me ever again if I hadn't sent it. So let's ask each other, what was the purpose? You sent the message, and what was your actual result? Nothing. In fact, worse than nothing, because now you feel kind of poopy for having reached out and not even getting the response that you wanted. Do you see why I say do nothing and let the men come to you so that you can receive and evaluate? Because when you do something, you feel even worse about doing something and not getting your desired result. And even when you do something, you only end up realizing there's a reason he didn't message you, because he's not even in a mental state to actually want to be around you or talk to you. Whatever. I don't know what I'm talking about, I guess. So even if the communication continued, the pattern had changed. He still initiated conversations, but delayed his response. It felt like he was trying to make himself more scarce. Proposal of 2 dates. A few days later, he proposed 2 dates in the same conversation. He said we could do one of them or both. The first could be on December 30th and the second on January 6th. I declined the first because I already had a yoga class at the time, but accepted the second one, Epiphany Day. Okay. January 6th date. Initially, he had tried to find a restaurant. It is true that in Spain, Epiphany Day, what is Epiphany Day? And the evening is one of the hardest moments of the year to find a place to eat. Right after Epiphany, the Christmas holiday ends and many restaurants close. But although it was difficult, it wasn't impossible. Okay. What is Epiphany Day? I'm trying to see. Okay, interesting. In the end, he told me he couldn't find anything and tried to suggest that we eat at his place or mine, or that we cook in his kitchen or mine. I responded, that trick won't work on me, with a smile. And he admittedly said jokingly that it could be interpreted as a bold suggestion, but that given the circumstances, it seemed like a good option. Finally, I found a restaurant. He was coming to my town, and I have more knowledge of the available options in my territory. He told me that he would be sad on that day because his 12-year-old daughter would have just left after having spent the holidays together to go back to her mother, only to spend 2 weeks every 6 weeks with her as she now lives abroad. He had also mentioned at another moment that he hadn't received a gift for Epiphany in many years. Since I knew this, I brought him a small present, something simple and inexpensive, 15 euros, less than $20. It was something I personally liked for relaxation, a lavender eye mask, the one I use at the end of my yoga class. The dinner went well and seemed fine, but I tried to get him to open up. He avoided answering deeper questions. For example, when I brought up his audio about struggling with uncertainty, he acted as if he hadn't heard me and didn't respond. However, he acted as if he really liked the gift, paid for dinner, walked me home, and then kissed me for the first time. We spent a while kissing at the door. He told me he would like to stay, but didn't insist or ask for further explanation when I told him that it would not be possible. So this is then the post-date conversation. For the next 3 days after the date, he texted me first every morning, saying good morning and telling me about boring things, such as the fact that he had gone to the gym or that there was construction work on his street. I responded that I was aware that the communication wasn't progressing or leading to a new date, so I let the conversation fade naturally. On the fourth day, since he didn't text me, I texted him. So again, we're doing this again. He responded with a lot of enthusiasm. During you do realize what's happening here. You're training him, right? You're training him to expect if he takes a step back, you will eventually reach out. This is a mistake. During the conversation, it was assumed that we would see each other again. At that moment, we were joking. He told me that he wanted to kiss me all over. I responded flirtatiously that kissing was a possibility, but it was conditioned on him delivering hot food for us on our next date. This was an inside joke. I was referring to how on our previous date, which was on Epiphany, he wouldn't find a restaurant, and in the end, I managed to find one, but it was sushi, so it was cold. After that, he just sent me this emoji. Okay. I asked, damn, I want sushi now. I asked him what the emoji meant as I was curious, but he didn't reply until the next day. He responded that it didn't mean anything, that it was an emoji and it was just an emoji. Immediately after that, he said wanting to kiss me all over had also been a joke. I actually think that what he really meant was that he wasn't solely focused on physical intimacy, but his tone in voice, in the voice note, felt slightly patronizing, like he was tolerating the question with patience. Okay. So this is what he responded. I'm going to skip ahead here because I want to kind of get to the brunt of your question. Okay. Well, I was unaware to make a logistical F. So let's go through some of this. I'm afraid that if our conversation will be based on jokes and emojis that don't mean anything, that I can already tell you that I'm definitely not going to fall for you over WhatsApp. Then he replied, if you think our conversation is just jokes and emojis, that's your problem. I can't do anything about it. So then you're essentially saying the same thing. You said be aware that you have to be aware that your situation is very complicated and that you've already turned down several dates. In the end, I get the feeling that you expect everything to be handed to you. And when you reduce the communication between us after the second date, I realized that you would never be able to be reciprocal. So thank you for your company on these last weeks and good luck. And added, and now I would send you a smiley emoji, but I'm not sure you'd get it. So then, okay, I'll be honest with you. All of this is way too much over explaining. Okay. If you're having to do all this to explain to a man when he's basically saying, I bid you adieu, you bid him adieu as well. Right. But I get it, right? I can kind of summarize and see what you're saying here. I believe I followed your principles correctly, especially in generating some level of anxiety in him. In fact, when I sent him the audio where he expressed his anxiety about uncertainty, I felt that I had handled everything perfectly up until that point. But after the uncertainty audio, I expected that he would take action and make plans to see me. Instead, his reaction was the opposite. He completely withdrew. Did I do something wrong? Was my response too reassuring? I don't understand why. After expressing his anxiety, he didn't take steps to move forward. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Okay, let me explain this and break this down to you, Maria. What happened here was a case of this is not the guy that I want you doing this strategy on. You want to know why? Because the strategy is supposed to work when a guy has a level of desire for you, that when you do give him that anxiety and you do tell him, hey, I want to see you in person and this is what I'm not really looking to be a texting buddy. He says, okay, I want to see you in person also. And he's not concerned about whether or not you're texting him or reaching out to him. He just goes about the business of asking you out in person because he wants to see you and spend time with you that way. What happened here is the reason you found yourself frustrated is because already from the beginning, when he stopped reaching out to you, that should have been your sign that this guy's level of interest isn't really there. Yeah, he drove and he saw me for a little bit, but he's not really where he needs to be mentally to like really pursue a relationship. And you saw that by when he kind of stopped texting you. Then when you re-engaged with him by reaching out to him, which I would have never advised you to do, right? You kind of mixed my advice with other people's advice, which is why it didn't work for you. I would never advise you to reach out with the guy who's seeming like he's fizzling out. Right? When a guy seems like he's fizzling out, you have to leave him be to decide to himself, okay, I actually want to talk to her again, so I'm going to reach out to her again. It's kind of weird, but when a guy fizzles out and stops talking to you and you reach out to him, he almost like wants to punish you for the fact that you're choosing to talk to him again when he never reached out to you. It's weird. And I think that's honestly what happened in this scenario, because he didn't seem necessarily welcoming or inviting at the idea of you reaching out to him, because he knew in his mind he was already going to not reach out to you. So it's almost like when you did finally reach out to you, he almost kind of just wanted to punish you instead of actually appreciating the fact that you reached out. Because like I said before, guys understand that if they really want to talk to you, they'll just do that. If they really want to text you, they'll just do that. So when they don't, there's usually a reason they're not doing that. And you even said in your message here, like part of it's a long message, so I can't remember where it was. But in your message, you also referred to the fact that at some point just before he stopped talking to you, he literally asked you, basically, are you interested in him? And you told him, yeah, I'm interested in you. I'm just not a big texter. So you made it very clear about the fact that, hey, it's not that I don't message you or reach out to you because I'm uninterested. I just don't message you or reach out to you because I'm not trying to be on the phone messaging all day and all night, which is perfectly fine. Any adult person with an adult brain will be able to take that in and say, oh, so this is not happening because you want to ignore me or because you don't like me. This is happening because I'm not seeing you in person. So if I want to change that, I better start seeing you in person. Now, not every guy is going to respond to that the same, because not every guy is going to have the emotional intelligence to be able to put two and two together. You remember how in our last question that I answered, I was talking, or the other previous question I answered a couple questions ago, I was talking about the dance of flirting and how when you're flirting with someone who's a flirt, you guys will both understand that we're flirting, but we don't have to talk about the fact that we're flirting. We just know it's happening. It's the same thing here. When you're talking to someone who's emotionally intelligent and is actually ready to date, and you give them runway by saying, oh, I actually think you're interesting and I like spending time with you in person, but I don't really do the whole texting thing. It's just not my style. You're giving them runway and helping them understand, yeah, we're doing a thing and I actually like this vibe, but I want this vibe to be us going out on dates or doing something outside or whatever the case may be, not just us chit-chatting over the phone 24/7. Some guys, that's going to hurt their feelings because they'll be like, I wanted to chit-chat 24/7, but my word to you, Maria, is that I don't even want you building a relationship with guys who are more interested in chit-chatting 24/7. The guys who will get butthurt about the fact that you don't message them, right, 24/7, right? It's not like you're ignoring him. The guys who get butthurt that you won't message them 24/7 all day, every day, and build a relationship with them over text, those are guys I don't even want you worrying yourself about. Because they're more focused on your texting relationship than your actual relationship, and you can't do anything with that. Because marrying the best texter is not going to serve you relationship wise. We want you to marry the man who has the most pursuit of you and pursuit of building a relationship with you in person. Okay? Even honestly at the expense of texting. So Maria, I think your mistake came in trying to force a relationship to work with a guy who already decided to himself that he wasn't going to reach out to you anymore because you weren't his girl or you weren't his cup of tea, right? Anytime you try to force a date with a guy who's decided for himself that you aren't his cup of tea, you will get a very horrible side of him, right? Guys have to be of the belief that you're the person that they want to be with and you're their vibe and you're everything that they want so that they can show up for you properly when on these dates. If you force it with a guy who's clearly fizzling out or seeming very uninterested, you'll get that side of him where he's almost like treating you like he hates you. He's talking to you, but as he's talking to you, it's almost like he doesn't want to talk to you. It's very weird. That's why I say when you notice the fizzle out, don't do anything. Let him be. Because until he decides to himself that you're worth the conversation of him reaching out, there's no point trying to have a conversation when it's only going to go downhill from there. Okay. All right, chat. That's the show for today. For those of you who have a question for me, whether it be in our free section, our paid section, or our private section, you can ask me a question through any one of those links, which are available in my bio on TikTok or in my description on YouTube. For those of you who want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is just above my head. It's Tomisin_Atub. It's also in my bio at the very bottom. You can find the link to my Instagram there if you're watching on YouTube. For those of you who are watching the show on TikTok and you want to rewatch the show because you came late or you missed some parts, just go to my YouTube channel and type in my first name, Tomisin, and you can find this live show in my live section of my YouTube channel, along with all the other live streams I've done since the beginning of time. Okay. And for those of you who are wondering when I almost forgot. There was two donations that I forgot to answer. I hope Nicole's still here. Nicole asked, I had a guy give me a ton of attention over the phone for hours, but he refused to hang out with me at all, said he wasn't ready. That is a perfect example of a pen pal. Or one of those guys that just likes the over the phone attention. They might be having their own physical relationships and they just want that over the phone attention that they just want to discuss with you for hours. Like you can't do that. You can't do that. And it's better to get that answer sooner rather than later because then you'll know you're wasting a lot less time. Okay. Guts also donates $2.99 in the YouTube chat just for the sake of it. So thank you so much. And thank you to anyone else who donated in the chat on TikTok as well. All right. So I'm back again Monday. Monday will be the next time I'm going to be live. I'm here every Monday and Thursday. So look forward to seeing me on Monday next week. Until then, I'll be posting lots on YouTube. So make sure you're subscribed to me on YouTube. We're almost at 100K. Until we meet again next week on Monday, I bid you adieu. Hasta la vista, sayonara, ciao, salam, arrivederci, adios, baoni, bon voyage. And I'll see you again. What is today? Yeah, today's Thursday, right? Yeah. I'll see you again on Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay? It won't be long. All right. Bye for now. Bye for now.